Good morning, Raptor freaks. Lexi Odds here, and it is Wednesday, and the Raptors have won their game against Chicago yesterday. They have won the season series with the Bulls, another Central Division opponent that we won the season series against this year. This is fantastic. It seems that we have that division's number this year. If you think about how we've handled Cleveland, Chicago, Detroit, Indiana, even the only team really, Milwaukee, we've actually beaten also. So I think we beat them this year. Maybe not. It seemed like we beat them so much last year, it should count for this year too. But yeah, the Central Division, for some reason this year, the Raptors have had a lot of good success against. And I am not angry about that at all. Fantastic job with another ugly Eastern Conference, grinded out, low scoring game. Some people hate watching that kind of style, but I love it. And it really is indicative that the Raptors defense has come back. We couldn't have these kind of games 2 months ago because we couldn't stop anybody from scoring. Our defense was horrible. And Nick Nurse, after the game in his interview, said that he's been really happy with the defense pretty much this whole past month of February and a couple of weeks into from before in January also. That they finally turned the corner with playing solid defense, and we can see it. And it's even before Jakob showed up that this kind of stuff was starting to materialize already. But yeah, this is really, really good. Our defense is a very important part of us winning. And it was a big part of what happened last night. Now, Chicago is not the best team. In fact, they have some similar problems that we have. They have offensive stagnation. They have trouble with shooting a high percentage at times also. But that wasn't the case yesterday. They actually shot pretty good considering things. It's crazy. They were talking about it after the game. How does a team like us shoot 40% and the other team shoots over 50% and we still win? Well, once again, it's getting 23 more shot attempts than the Bulls on the goal and ending up making one more field goal and then five more three-pointers than them. That was fantastic too. So just a great solid effort. And of course, the main important thing is how do they close out? How do they play the last 6 minutes a game and manage it and do the right things to make things happen so that the Raptors get the W? Well, they did it, and they did all kinds of stuff. In fact, each player contributed in a different way. Some of them were scoring wise, and some of them were very different kind of contribution to help us win last night. So let me check with y'all's comments. Evelyn's here first. Granny Evelyn, good morning, Raptor Freak family. What a game. I love it. Yes, Evelyn, I know. Isn't it so much to love and stuff like that about the game last night? Just a good atmosphere and good stuff happening out there. I felt bad for DeMar. I felt like, he was very frustrated. Of course, he said on Open Gym he wanted to drop 50 on us for this game. Well, he wasn't even close. It was really nice to see OG reappear as a really great defender yesterday because he didn't do well in Cleveland against Donovan, but he very much did very well yesterday against DeRozan, holding DeRozan to like 13 points in the game last night. That is an accomplishment, seriously. And a lot of it has to do with OG Anunoby. My 3 stars for the game last night, number 1 star is Gary Trent Jr. And my reasoning is that this man came off the bench and he didn't miss a beat. In fact, he was really, really steady off the bench. And this is exactly what we need from him. And it all kind of evolved for him in the game the way that I thought it would for him coming off the bench at this point is that he doesn't have to start to get 19 points and get 5 3-pointers. And the fact that he played so well, look, at the end of the game, Poeltl becomes a liability because of his free throw shooting. You can't have him out there for the last 5 minutes. So in some ways, it's a very smart switch to have Gary in there with the starters at the end of the game instead of Jakob. And it really worked really well. In fact, part of it was that it made Scottie switch to center. And when him playing defensive center in the fourth quarter was really effective, like really, really effective. In fact, this is the comparison I'm going to make to Scottie last night. It's Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan in the fourth quarter, you had 4 blocks in the fourth quarter, and that is a Tim Duncan kind of thing to do at the very end of the game. And I'm telling you, the comparison to Tim Duncan with him is very fair. And in the fourth quarter last night, we saw Scottie doing his Tim Duncan. And that's basically him playing defensive center, getting blocks, playing team defense off of his other guys really, really well. and just playing real smart. That's where I see the parallels between him and the big fundamental, is that there's certain things that he does defensively that are very Duncan-esque that I think a lot of people are sleeping on. Just like they were sleeping on the Kawhi moves early on. And I was saying, yeah, he can do stuff like Kawhi. I think they're sleeping on the effect that he can have on the defensive end in this kind of way, kind of like Duncan. Some people made, whoa, that's high praise, Lex. That's crazy. You're talking about Tim Duncan, bro. Well, think about what he did. Did you see those 4 blocks that he did at the end of the game? That is very Tim Duncan. And a lot of that defensive stuff he did was so reminiscent of him. Seriously. Seriously. Mike is here. Logical Raptors fanatic in the house. Check out Logical Raptors fanatic coming with the facts and the figures. Coming correct. Project Truth always. Mike saying, I'm sorry for giving incorrect info last time. Uh-oh. Logically, to me, I didn't see a player literally take peanuts to play. So value-wise, wanting Bo for a player that made 1.1 million was even something. Okay, Mike's doing a reference to the move we made at the very end of the opportunity in the buyout market. We made a move yesterday, and it was a big move. Juancho got waived, and we signed Will Barton. And we saw Will Barton come into the game and play 4 minutes last night, and he didn't score. Now, this is something that Mike had been talking about in the last couple of weeks, that if we're going to do anything with the buyout market, that deadline is March the 1st, and that is today. So if Bobby and Masai were going to do anything like what they did yesterday, they had to do it yesterday. Well, they did. They didn't rest on their laurels. And the move that they made me wonder. I'm like, think about, wow, they may be really listening to the fans and people in Raptors Nation right now, because one of the things we've been saying is we need a backup guard that can score, that is a hooper, that is somebody that can come in and make buckets and is also capable and is also a veteran. I mean, this guy has played in the league for over a decade. That he has a nickname, Will the Thrill. And there's a reason, because he's been a 3-point artist that has very much impacted games and won games for teams like the Denver Nuggets. And it's very interesting because it really is a puzzle piece that fit exactly kind of what we needed. And everybody was saying, well, we need another guy off the bench that can score and can shoot threes. Well, we got that yesterday. And it's really kind of interesting how we got it. Like Mike's saying, we didn't realize somebody would come here for nothing. Well, people that want to stay in the league and they see a winning team, a team that's kind of like got good things going, and they like the situation, yeah, they'll jump for it, even if the money's not super, super great. It's the kind of thing like where he wants to continue to have a career. Well, Toronto's calling. They said they want you on the buyout market. Okay, yeah, I'll go. And I don't think he was upset about coming here. He came here pretty quick. I don't know how much of a heads up he had about coming here and the buyout and stuff, that he would be here so fast and stuff. But this really bodes well in all kinds of different ways. Once again, just like Poeltl coming here, Barton will push guys a little bit into more competition, and it's going to be a lot harder to get minutes for the Raptors. That these guys like Jeff Doughton, Delano, Malachi, Thaddeus, Precious, everybody's going to have to play at a high level to keep staying out there on the court, because there are so many different people that can eat up minutes at this point. I'm really curious to see the impact Barton has on our team. In some ways, with Gary going to the bench, they're kind of like similar in a way as their roles, but not. I don't know. I really have to see more of Barton in a Raptors uniform to see how Nick wants to use him. But I think it'll be a lot of threes, and hopefully he'll be this kind of guy that is just like a baller. Like I think that Jack said last night that you can kind of compare him to like a Lou Williams in a way, but not totally. And I mean, I guess I get it from like the mentality of I'm a scorer like crazy. He is kind of that guy. And that is something we've needed way more on this team in recent years. So I'm very curious about this Barton move. And once again, it's a move that's signaling that Bobby and Masai are winning now. They want to win now. They're not fucking around. In fact, this means that they probably think that they can go deep in the playoffs, because a move like this really does signal that. And the other thing about it is this basically is going to kill the idea of Jeff Doughton getting it on the playoff roster. That he's just going to be two-way. He's not going to get converted. And Will Barton will definitely be having that spot that he would have possibly had if we had converted him. So very, very, very interesting turn of events. And our team just got way better once again. And there's good problems. We have not enough minutes, and we have a lot of good players now. It's really, really good. Let's see. Logical saying also. So we had 700,000 after signing Wieskamp. Waiving Bo gets us 400,000. Then we signed Will Barton to a rest of season minimum contract, which is peanuts to what his regular minimum is as a 10-year vet. Well, listen. That's what I'm saying. This is part of why the buyout market is so intriguing and weird. You can get really good players on clearance. It really is kind of like that yard sale. You know, everybody's saying, "Oh, we're a yard sale. Come and buy OG." No, the yard sale happens the buyout market, and you can get pretty good discounted goods. I hate to like put it that way for a player in the NBA, but that is really kind of what the buyout market is like a discount store. But really, really good stuff. I think there's going to be good value in him for what you're saying, Mike. Mike's also saying a rest of season minimum contract is not just your regular minimum; it's a prorated minimum based on remaining games. Joe's minimum for this year was 1 million. So for him, it was 500,000. Okay. Logical's also saying, laughing my fucking ass off. Masai and Bobby are beyond genius. Will Barton got bought out of a 14 million a year deal with the Nuggets. Then we waited till he had less choices on the last day and got him for 1.1 million or less. There you go. I love you singing the praises of our front office, Mike. And yeah, I mean, this just seems like there's no losing in all of this. He's such a capable pro, and it's really like, listen, it's just him learning our system and learning to fit in with our guys. But he's going to do so many good things for us. In fact, he may fix some of these offensive problems that we've been having recently. I still hated seeing these droughts last night. There were times where we just could not buy a basket. And I was like, what is going on? Why? We have Jakob. But even him, they went and dumped it to him. And he missed the one shot in the middle of that drought also. Now, the 3 stars for the game, I told you Gary's my first star. It really is a testament to him to play at a high level, even though he had to come off the bench. He still got a whole bunch of minutes, 28 minutes, 6 of 13 from the field, 5 of 11 from 3, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 19 points. Just fantastic, like changing his role according to what whether he's starting or not doesn't matter. He's still going to do a good job. My second star is OG, and part of it is because of the defensive presence of him on DeMar. Part of it's also that great dunk on DeMar. That was a really nasty dunk that OG did to DeMar. And then also, he just kind of woke up offensively a bit more in this game finally after coming back from injury recently. 6 of 13, 2 of 4 from 3, 3 of 4 from the line, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, plus 16, 17 points for OG. So Gary and OG, having come back from the injury recently, have finally seemed to found the rhythm. They both shot the same, 6 of 13, and that's way better than what they were showing since the All-Star break. So I'm really happy with that. Now, the third star, I can go all over the place with different people here. In fact, in some ways, I want to just give it to the rest of the starters collectively because all 4 of them had big contributions to help them win last night. So obviously, Siakam was the leading scorer with 20 points. 7 of 18 from the field, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, plus 3. But, that's kind of a quiet night for Siakam. And unfortunately, he had once again a streak of 25 plus games come to an end. He's had 2 of these streaks this season. He had one earlier this season that ended in January, and now he's had his second one. That just says a lot that he's had like a couple of streaks of 25 plus games this season. That's badass, Siakam. You go. That really indicates that you're having such a good season, having these streaks. Of course, Scottie, fourth quarter Scottie. They're trying to call him fourth quarter B. Fourth quarter B doesn't work, Matt Devlin. Just go SB fourth. That is the way to go. He loves the SB4 nickname already. So just say SB fourth in the house because I think he would like that one more. Knowing how he feels about when you shorten the word defense to D, he's not going to want you to call him B. All right. I'm just going to put it that way because it either indicates you're calling him a bad word or baby or something like that. And he doesn't want that. So say the whole thing, either say fourth quarter Barnes or I say SB fourth. I think that's the one you should go with. But the fourth quarter is definitely becoming a place for Scottie to make his habitat. And Nick Nurse is a little kerfuffled by it. He's like, well, I wish he would be aggressive all the time and not just wait till the end of the game. But it really is a factor. And we saw it last summer when he played video games on Twitch. Sometimes he cruised through the whole game and kind of just hang around, fuck around. And then in the fourth quarter, he took it real seriously and he would really try to win then. So it is very much something that he does, that he is very competitive. And if he sees the game is close near the end, that's when he wants to shine and step up. I just wish he could find this like more consistently throughout the whole entire game. And maybe as he progresses and develops as a young player, that this is part of what he will develop into, is more consistent throughout the whole four quarters. But yeah, in that fourth quarter, he was amazing. Honestly, a big, huge factor in bringing us home to the game. As far as, once again, I said, he was a defensive leader last night, and it was on the defensive end he led us to the victory. And I really love that. The 4 blocks are fantastic. And that one on DeMar was just so nasty. DeMar thought he had it, and Scottie just came from the side and blocked the shit out of him. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's humiliating for my great, uh, fantastic favorite Raptor in some ways, DeMar DeRozan. But look at Scottie. Wow, what a changing of the guard of Raptors generations in some ways. It's like, look at Scottie. This is the future now, DeMar. Holy crap. Holy crap. But yeah, Scottie's so good. 4 of 12, 2 3-pointers throughout the game, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 blocks, a steal, plus 19. He was the highest plus minus for us, 11 points. Now, that was great. Poeltl, fantastic. 6 of 9 from the field. He hit 2 of 4 from free throw line, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, plus 13 and 14 points. He had a little stretch where he scored all of our points for a little bit when we were really having trouble in like the third quarter. They started going to Poeltl a lot, and he like was getting a whole bunch of his baskets right around then. It's just so nice to have a diversified set of weapons on this team, and having the big man like Poeltl in certain ways with the rolls and the big man stuff that he can do down low has really fleshed out our options for our offense in a better way. And I really, really like that. Now we'll talk about El Capitan last. Listen, I'm not mad at Fred for last night at all. I know those Fred haters are going to probably come after him for his stat line today, and I'm not going to be one of them. I'm very happy with what Fred did last night. I know that he was missing his shot, but once again, he did not play for 2 weeks. He had not played since before the All-Star break, and we were off, like that was that Wednesday. So it was almost 2 weeks since he played. And obviously his rhythm was off with his shot. Really, really bad shooting last night. But you know what? He managed to have an impact in this game still without scoring. And this is part of the ammunition against the Fred haters is look, this man totally contributed to us winning, did not take away from us winning. Sure, we wish he had made more shots, but he made a solid contribution, even though he only scored 3 points. Seriously, 9 assists with no turnovers is a huge, huge accomplishment and contribution to us last night. People are going to get mad at him for the scoring, but dude did not play for 2 weeks. And we found out after the game last night that there was a tragedy that happened for him this weekend also. Part of the reason why he missed 3 games. There was a death in the family, as well as the birth of his daughter, Layla, and his birthday. It was a very weird weekend for Fred, he said. He had a little mix of everything in life: death, birth, birthday. And, in some ways that can get you real philosophical and real kind of in your head about like the meaning of life and different things like that. It's like, it's very symbolic, a new life comes in and a life goes out kind of thing. So he was very like deep stuff he was dealing with this weekend, I'm sure. And I just love to see the joy. And listen, Fred, I'm glad you're back. I was mad at you about Sunday, but thank God you're back. And we do need you to win. And you are our captain. And I believe in you. And even though you missed a lot of shots yesterday, and some of your haters may be sharpening their sticks about it, I'm not going to be one of those people. I am so proud of you. And I just know that you're going to lead us to good things coming up soon. So keep going, Fred. Your shot's going to come back, and we're going to be all right. But I like that he contributed without scoring last night and really was a factor in things late because, like I said, once again, even if he's not making shots, he's managing things. He's looking at the flow of the game. He's reading the floor. He's maybe saying, all right, we need a little bit more of this in some way. He can do some direction on the court that is really, really worthwhile and helps us win in all kinds of different ways. His presence really is steady. And that's what we need. We need steady Freddie. So yeah, I love the starters. Technically, I think I gave the third star to Scottie. So my 3 stars of the game are Gary, OG, and Scottie. And then, Siakam, leading scorer, that's fine. Poeltl, solid. Fred VanVleet, solid. And then looking at the bench, Thad Young, really, like at one point I was like, Thad, I wish he wasn't playing so much. But then I was like, okay, I see why he's playing so much. 3 of 6 from the field. He did hit a 3. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 7 points. Very, very solid minutes by Thad. And he was once again this solid vet presence that kind of settled things down and had like a very astute purpose. And he was very forceful, as Nick put it after the game, that he really liked how he was taking the game into his own hands and forcing his will as a vet on the game. He was really impressed with that. And I was too. It's like, listen, I was thinking when he was putting him in as part of the rotation with everybody we've had now, I was like, why are you doing that, Nick? Why are you playing Thad still? Well, I got my answer. We got really good production out of him, and that's great. I'm not going to be against playing Thad. Now, a lot of people are against him playing backup center, and I can get behind that to a degree. I don't know if necessarily he should be filling minutes that Jakob or Precious should be in. That I still kind of bugs me because defensively that's not good. But otherwise, all the stuff he was doing, just veteran savviness and stuff like that. Good job, Thad. I can endorse playing you still, even though you're on the verge of possibly being shut out of the rotation just because so many people are here now, and there's going to be people eating in the minutes. Boucher was solid in the second half. It was really weird, and this is what Nick said last night. He said that Boucher and Achua, they can have periods of the game where they're not very good, but then in the second half, they may bounce back and come back big with big stuff. And I think that that's true of Chris. Chris had a much better second half, 3 of 5 from the field, and they were all 3-pointers he took. He was 3 of 5 shooting, but they were all threes. 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal, 9 points for Chris. I thought it was just really timely threes and like really helpful. Like I like that he was a threat in that kind of way for us last night. We needed 3-point threats in this game. And us winning the 3-point shooting last night was a huge factor in us winning. That we got way more 3-point field goals made than the Bulls, and that was really important. And Chris and Gary are a big part of that. Will Barton, the 4 minutes, as I said, he had an assist, and that was it. But Nick really liked what he saw from him. But like, you got to figure this. This man's not practiced with us. I don't think how much has he seen of the playbook. He knows the team, maybe just from scouting us from being on other teams. But otherwise, like him going out there in the 4 minutes, and I didn't really see a whole lot too special. I mean, he did have one nice assist, but Nick saw a lot in what he did out there, and he's very excited about getting to work with him and trying to use Will Barton and how he wants to fit him into the rotation. So a good debut by him and very quick. I did not think he would play him last night, but he did. He put him out there in the fire right away. And we'll see. We'll see what his journey is as a Raptor. Very, very cool stuff. A nice team effort all around. We didn't have a lot of guys scoring major points. There wasn't a high-scoring game, but there were contributions across the board from everybody in different ways. And that was really important to add up to winning. In fact, that's part of like how you got to win in the NBA. You have to have team contributions as a whole. You can't just have Siakam trying to score 40 points and then like Gary's getting us 20 and we won't win that way. That's only 60 points or something like that, or 50. We need to get all the guys scoring and doing different things. So that's good stuff. Nameless is saying Barnes' fourth quarter effort shows you exactly why he was drafted 4th overall and what kind of impact that typecast a player can have. I expect to see that much more frequently moving forward. Me too. Seriously, he's discovering stuff and like he really is learning. And the more he learns situations and has experiences and gets that kind of like success and failure, like ratio of learning what works and what doesn't, the better it'll happen. At one point in the game, Scottie got real mad at the refs and was jawing at them too much. And Jack got mad at him saying, it's not worth yelling at the refs. You got to make the shots. And Jack is exactly right. That Scott, you need to make those shots first, and then the refs will start to maybe give you some respect and give you the calls. but you have to make sure you make it through the contact. That's part of what will gain you respect, is that you took the contact and the physicalness and still made the basket. And that's something that you're going to get better at. I know you will. And that is the savviness and the experience and the smarts, is finishing through the contact and then like really like pressuring the refs to make the N1 call for you. And I think you'll get that. I think you'll get that more. But yeah, I love the stuff that's happening with Scott. And once again, his development has nothing to do with his scoring. His development has to do with team winning and winning plays in any given moment, like the blocks, to help the team win. That anybody who's judging Scottie by the metric of his scoring and how much he scores night to night, that's not the way to gauge him. There really is, the way to gauge him is, did we win, and how many winning plays did he make to contribute to us winning? And those are block shots, those are rebounds, those are defensive assignments. Those may be a shot, sure, but it's a lot of more than just scoring. Race mode's here. Good to see Race Mode Daily. Bam, bam, bam to Edmund. Good morning, freaks. Got another W, and it feels so good. Too bad Bo Cruz didn't work out. Trust the process. Yeah, well, Bo got a little run with us. We got the legend of Bo Cruz. Scottie got to play alongside a movie star for the year. It's no hard feelings, no tough stuff like that. I know that he's a pro and that he understands things like this. And listen, OG talking about him in his interview after the game last night, he said he's just a nice guy. And once again, you can tell that this stuff does affect the players, because when OG's talking about Juancho and realizing that he's not on the team anymore, you could tell he got a little emotional. Even though you can't really read OG for emotions, you could tell he got a little emotional realizing that this guy's leaving. And that's something that we need to realize. These guys are human beings and they become friends. And it's sad when guys get traded or they get waived or they have to leave the team and stuff like that. And it is showed in OG's interview last night when they asked him about Juancho and what he means to the team and the guys. It really did show. I read it that way. But yeah, it's too bad for Juancho. But you know what? Listen, how bad can you feel for the guy? He's probably a millionaire. He's a Euro basket champion. He's played in the NBA. He's had all kinds of great things happen to him. So his life is good, and I'm sure he'll be just fine. But in some ways, it's interesting because it's kind of like what Mike was saying on his content recently about Thad and Otto and Juancho, that they are, they're kind of like versatile in a way that we can flip them just in case, like what we did yesterday to get Will Barton. And that's exactly what I was saying, that like even this summer, these guys can be flipped, the other two guys, to get upgrades on a roster that people don't even realize. And that's what they did yesterday with Juancho getting Will Barton. So, Juancho wasn't scoring anything, and he did certain things that were good, but we upgraded. This is a very much an upgrade and a more useful player. So this is really good. Cool Cat saying, good morning, Raptor Free Crew, and Masai and Bobby, we trust. We signed Will Barton in the city, physicals and on-court all-stealth moves without media. Love it. W game. Fred VanVleet have lots on his hands. Condolences to the family. Yes. Yeah, I hated hearing that. And I hate that it was something negative that happened also this weekend. So I don't know how it all went down, the timeline and stuff like that. So in some ways I have to forgive Fred for Sunday, and I will. I'll get past it. I'm just happy he showed back up, and even though he didn't have really a good game, I was still okay with what happened with him last night. So yeah, really smart, really sneaky. The Will Barton stuff really caught me by surprise yesterday. That's for sure. I guess maybe because of the way Mike described the March 1st deadline, I maybe should have been on the lookout and ready for a move like this. But I really didn't expect them to change the roster like this. But once again, yeah, huge upgrade. And we really should trust in Bobby and Masai. They know what they're doing. And, we're laughing at getting a guy the quality of Will Barton for what we're paying him, as Mike has put it. Yeah, we're laughing about that. Let's see. Fiercely saying, good morning, fam. Great W yesterday. Got nervous at some point, but Scottie saved the day. We'll miss Juancho as he seemed to mesh well with them, but I recognize results matter. Good pickup with Barton. Yeah. 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 I mean, there was a little bit of a Cali stress meter last night. These situations where they're very close, you got somebody like DeMar out there on the other team, it can be very scary. But this really was a defensive battle, and we are a much better defensive team than they are. I mean, Vucevic is a center, but he's not the best defensive center. Jakob's a way better defensive center than Vucevic. And then once again, them having four guards in their starting lineup does not benefit them in some ways. Billy Donovan, after the game in his interview, talked a lot about our size at all positions and how much that hurt them and how much that we could bully them around, and the physicality and the versatility of our team really was a huge factor in why we beat the Bulls. Donovan wasn't that upset with his team, which was interesting because he did feel like there were some good things that they were doing out there. But in some ways, he just felt like they were outmatched, that he really did feel like his team was outmatched overall in this situation against us last night. That's a big compliment. That is a huge compliment. Nako's here. Good to see Nako the Nacho. Holding DeMar and Levine to under 20 points ain't for nothing. Best players were Scottie, Chris, and Thad. All right, so Gerald's picks are a little bit different than mine, but I can't go wrong with them. I really love what Chris did, and I really do like what hang on, it jumped. I want to get back to your comment and make sure I get Thaddeus was very solid too in his little bit of time. So yeah, nothing wrong. You can't go wrong with picking 3 stars last night because a lot of different guys had solid contributions for sure. Yeah, DeMar was really upset after the game last night. He did not hang around and shake anybody's hand. He went straight to the dressing room, and they showed him on camera on the broadcast in the back, really upset, holding his head. I hate seeing that. Because listen, I know that how this guy battles depression, and I want DeMar to be strong and be happy. And the problems in Chicago the last 2 years have not helped with things. He really was going into a good situation. Well, everything's not worked right with the Bulls since he's been there in some ways, and I hate that. I hate that. I don't know what it is exactly. Maybe it's that collection of players just doesn't fit right exactly. I don't know. I feel bad for DeMar because I just want him to have good things happen for him, and they're not right now. Logical saying for a reference scale, Joe's ROS is 500,000. The 2-time 10-day contracts earned him half that amount, like 250,000, and he's a rookie. So a vet taken, and I don't know, never say never with Bobby. Okay, Mike, I'm not totally sure what you're saying there. It's a little complicated, but you're talking about how much Joe has made this year compared to what Will Barton's going to make, and that he's making way more, and that's crazy. Nameless saying, I thought Poeltl had quietly impactful game too. I love how he seems to be able to slide under the radar and still be effective and subtly contribute to a win. That's what I'm saying. Listen, Poeltl comes from the school of Popovich at this point, in the school of Duncan. And in some ways, some of the things that he's going to do are going to increase the Duncan in Scottie, that he's a role model. And this is what some of the Nick said about Scottie last night is he was a role model and a leader on the floor with his get after it. Like it was very much like in certain points in the fourth quarter, Scottie was like, I'm fucking going to get the ball. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. And he was very much a role model for the other guys on the team as far as an energy role model, get after it, tenacity kind of role model. And that's really, really good. And I love seeing that, seriously. So the things about Poeltl that you're describing, Nameless, on the download, the underlying things that you're picking up on that not everybody's going to see are things that are going to rub off on Scottie more and more too. So think about that potential. But yeah, I really love what Poeltl's doing for us. It's like, listen, he's coming made to order for whatever we need from him. It's like, yeah, he can blow up and have a 30-point game recently, but it's really like he finds the shots when we need him to find them. He cleans up garbage. He's just doing really good stuff for us in general as a big man that we've lacked for a while. And it's just so refreshing to have him on the team. It really, really is so, so refreshing. Randolph Phillips is here. Good morning, beloved Raptor Freaks, most informative gang. The last night felt real good. Our team gave me more confidence that they are indeed a playoff team. Yeah, they did it in a couple different ways. They did it on the court in a grinded out game. Now, people will say that game was so ugly. And what? You're playing another close game to another sub 500 team. What is wrong with the Raptors? Well, that's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the ability to close the game out and make sure it's a win. I'm looking at the front office signaling that they care about winning now by making a big move. And these are reasons for us to feel a little bit more confident about the playoffs. We need to get out of the bottom of the play-in. We need to get out of the play-in altogether, and we need to get into one of a regular playoff spot. and we will be very dangerous. We will. I know it. And blessings to you, Randolph, and the Phillips family. All the best to you. Trevor's here. Good to see Trevor J. Good morning. I love it that was a kind of game you enjoy watching. Yeah. Oh yeah, Trevor. This is the thing. This season for us Raptor fans has not been the most enjoyable. We've had a lot of periods where people didn't even want to watch the team. They watched it and they're like, they suck and they're losing too much. I can't watch them. They turned the TV off for a while this season. And those are people that aren't like me, that I'm like diehard. I don't care. I'm ride or die. Go through all of it with them. But I understand why. It's like, why am I going to devote my time to watch this game when they're awful and they're losing? But now people should be coming back because the games are fun again. It really does have a lot to do with Poeltl coming back. That it's just it's enjoyable and exciting to watch the Raptors again. That if anything, not only is Poeltl a good move for the team and making the team better as a big man and stuff like, it's better for viewership. It's better for the Raptors like rating on TV because they're more enjoyable and entertaining to watch. They weren't this year for a while, and it was really like, it's like some people were saying like, oh, we got to watch another Raptor game tonight. That's how some fans were like earlier this season with our struggles. Well, now it's not like that. I'm very much like, let's go to Washington right now and play the Wizards tonight. Well, we got a day off, Lex. You got to take the day off, and then they'll go to Washington tomorrow. But I'm like, ready. Let's go. Let's go play the next game because I'm very anticipatory and excited about Raptors basketball right now. That there's an enthusiasm about it again that did get lost for a little while this season. I'm totally with you, Trevor. What a fun game to watch, even if it's grinded out, low scoring, ugliness. In some ways, I really do love that style. Mike's saying, salute the real ones, Project Truth always. Great win. Scottie was excellent. The defense was solid. Assist Fred was in the building and pushed the Bulls back and gained some room. Bully up. Yeah, we were the aggressor. We were the team that was fighting harder. We did a lot of good stuff in this game. In fact, let's talk about the challenge real quick. That was a really smart challenge by Nick, and it had really paid off really well, that OG challenge that they called last night. The challenges are always interesting and crazy. And James Williams is a hilarious ref. Of course, he's the wannabe Chicago mayor, the mayor of Chicago, and we're worried about him. And there was a little bit of funny stuff with the refs for a little while there. But his explanation after the challenge and why it was ruled to be overturned to become offensive foul on DeMar instead of a blocking foul by OG was awesome. And Jack was talking about it afterwards. He's like, he's just like, he really has a great delivery. He's like, he brought up our friend Bill Kennedy, one of our favorite refs, about their demeanor when they're explaining things over the microphone for challenges. Like Zach Zarba is another one he mentioned, and like James Williams had quite the voice on the microphone, and his whole explanation. He said he could be like a college teacher. That's what he said, I think, or something like that. But yeah, the refs weren't that bad last night. I didn't really have a huge problem with them. Tom Washington's old head. And he's no nonsense. And he was getting good calls down there. But once again, they're not calling contact. They really aren't. There's a lot of physicality in games, and you're not going to get calls. You're not going to get whistles. Don't rely on getting the whistle. You got to rely on making that basket and forget about the whistle, because it used to be in the NBA, you could depend on the whistle. If you go in there and get contact, they should put you on the line. Well, they don't do that anymore. They swallow the whistle. They allow a lot more contact. So when you're going to the basket, you have to make sure you make the shot. You cannot fucking be going in there to try and get the foul and like thinking about the shot secondary. The shot needs to be first, because you are not able to depend on any kind of fouls being called. Just trust me, Scottie, Pascal, OG, anybody going down low. You're not going to get the call. That's just, they've already made it known that it's just that way. You're not Jason Tatum. You're not LeBron James. You're not going to get the golden boy treatment. So you've got to make the shots. You got to make that your priority. You cannot depend on getting bailed out by the whistle. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Let's see. Cool Cat saying, Raptor Freak, I felt bad for DeMar. We were able to shut him down again. We also limited Zach LaVine's game too. Yeah, let me look at the box score from the Bulls perspective real quick. Yeah, DeMar, 5 of 11, 13 points, 3 turnovers, a minus 15. Yeah, I feel bad for him. Like, honestly, in some ways, the way the Bulls felt last night is a little bit like some of the Raptors teams that DeMar was on back in the day that really were like having a lot of problems. And I hate that for him this far into his career that he's got to be on this situation, especially since his years in San Antonio weren't full of winning either. And in some ways, I just want him to get back to excellence and have success. I do very, very have a personal soft spot for him. Patrick Beverley was weird on this team. It's so weird that he's in a Bulls jersey all of a sudden. He was a busybody. He was a little bit of an annoying little pest, but he wasn't too horrible. Nick Nurse was talking a lot about how him and Caruso crashed the boards as guards and how they have to adjust and how they box out, worrying about these little guys coming in and trying to steal rebounds. Because Beverly had 7 rebounds. He had actually a really good rebounding game, 4 assists, 8 points. He has not been there very long. And, he's an interesting piece added to this team. Zach LaVine, yeah, 6 of 12, 17 points. He had a couple of moments where he started to look like he was getting going. But the big thing was that he couldn't hit any threes. And that was very helpful. It was really Vucevic hitting the threes for them, 23 points for him, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 6 turnovers, though, for Vooch. And that really is us swarming and just really being pests, long arm monsters, Eagles, just all around him. We will get that ball out of his hands. Drummond was annoying off the bench, swallowing up a lot of rebounds and just being a big physical presence. He got really mad at Scottie at that one point when he tried to steal the ball from him at one end of the court. And Scottie got the foul called on him, and he kind of said something to him. He's a weird player. He really does fit the Bulls really well off the bench and the role that he has. And he did limit our offensive rebounding when he was out there. He really does kind of eat those rebounds up. Kobe White, interesting young player. Ao also. Those guys are interesting coming off the bench and doing stuff for them. And then Caruso, he's a weak link for them. It's really not, he should not be starting. And that's part of their problem is they should be starting another forward. I would if I was Billy Donovan, I would be starting Patrick Williams over Caruso. I don't know why exactly they're doing that small guard lineup because it's not going to benefit them. Caruso's a bench player, and he is such a defensive liability in some ways. Like we were eating him alive. And like we would look for him and we would go bully him. And that's why I'm like, I wouldn't start him, Billy Donovan. I really wouldn't. Let's see. Banana Bread Tan saying, hey, good morning, Lex. Added you on Facebook. Are you excited by the fact that we went 10 men deep and also that we can switch from bully ball to small ball with 2 players? Yeah, I love more and more versatility. And the stuff that we're adding to our team right now really is good for playoff stuff. Will Barton is a huge, huge piece to add for a possible playoff run. And then Poeltl, obviously, that deal at the trade deadline, it really is made our team more into a playoff type team. And I love that. I really do. And I love how deep we are for sure, Banana Bread Tan. For sure, I love how deep we are because it really does mean there's more competition on the team. These guys have to play at a very high level if they're even going to get a chance to play. And I really do want Nick to do this thing where he rewards somebody like Gary with minutes at the end of the game. If they're really, really playing well off the bench, it shouldn't just be the starters are getting to end the game. In fact, I don't mind Poeltl not ending the game often, all the time. In fact, we do that small ball lineup at the end with Scottie at center. That's not a bad look right at the end because the way it switches things up and the way we're more able to get around quicker in some ways is really good. But, Poeltl's important, and we need him to play good chunks of the game and establish certain things like low post presence and just spacing. But at the end of the game, he's a liability. So that could mean, like, all right, 4 starters other than Poeltl get the end of the game, but also one of any of the bench players who excels during the whole entire game can be that 5th player at the end of the game with Poeltl on the bench. I think that just may be smart by Nick, and that may be a normal kind of rotation pattern that he does from game to game. But it may not be Gary every night. It could be Gary has a bad night, he's not shooting well, and it could be a completely different person off the bench, like Precious or Chris or Thaddeus, something like that. So, but yeah, I'm really excited all around about the Raptors in all kinds of different ways. Bring on Washington. We get 2 games against the Wizards. in DC, let's take them down. Yeah, let's beat them up. Yeah, and if you did that on Facebook, I'll go on Facebook after this, and I'll see you on there, Banana Bread Tan, and I'll add you to our Raptor Freak Facebook chat. Also, we have a chat on Facebook that we talk like line up last minute news and stuff like that, share different things that come out. Monique's sharing a lot of content on there all the time. So I'll add you to that chat also, Banana Britannia. If anybody else is on Facebook and they want to look me up, you can find me too, and we'll put you in that chat also. G saying fourth quarter B, Freddie kept it steady even on a bad shooting night. Boucher with 3 threes really helped, and Gary seems to do something clutch almost every game. Yeah, I just love that Gary is unflappable. Seriously, that's why I made him the player of the game. You're not starting. Okay. Well, I'm still going to be a bucket. I'm going to still come out there and make buckets, make points, and help these Raptors win. And I love that about Gary. He had a great game off the bench, and this is exactly what we need off the bench. 19 points is fantastic. Yeah, Freddie was steady. Boucher with key threes. I love it all too, G. Very, very good stuff. Top is here. Good to see Top. Fred played well, like a traditional point guard, and no hero ball. I hope Nick Nurse plays Barton consistently, but Pascal in the fourth was horrible, a complete brick fest, and he does this almost every game. Yeah, I can agree with this part about Pascal. There was one trip down the floor in particular where they got like 3 or 4 chances, and they just kept missing. I'm like, oh my gosh. They can't make any of these shots. They're getting offensive rebounds. They're getting a lot of chances, but they did not make any of them. And this is something that I've noticed about Siakam too, is that at the end of the game, he's not dependable to get the bucket. And that's why maybe he's a good water carrier throughout the whole game, scoring a lot for you, keeping your score up, competing with the other team. But at the end of the game, he's not a good end of game pressure situations person to go to. In fact, I'd much rather go to Gary, maybe even Scottie, because in some ways, Scottie going into the lane, even late in the game, with his physicality and his presence, he has more success getting those close-up shots than Pascal late. So, I can get behind that. And I like the top. Once again, in the last couple of weeks, we haven't totally seen eye to eye, but once again, we rendezvoused and we're pretty much on the same page with what you're saying. I can't disagree with anything you're saying here. You're giving Fred his flowers for playing well and not scoring. And I appreciate that. Yeah, he didn't have to play hero ball. And when you don't have it, Fred, you don't need to force it. Now, 11 3-point shots in the game last night. Some people would say, well, that's too many by him. He had 9. He had 11 shots altogether, 9 3-point shots. But he had to try. And there were moments where he was, very much a threat, and they had to respect him, and that helped, even though he didn't make shots. If that makes sense. But yeah, I want to see other people's names called at the end of games, and then other than Siakam, because I think he's too obvious, and in some ways he may be more useful at the end of games as a distraction or a decoy, as far as like people will bring attention to him and just find somebody else, because there's times where he has the ball near the basket and there's like 4 bulls around him. There's somebody open outside Siakam, and you're trying to force the ball through 4 guys. I don't like that. Nameless is saying, since Poeltl signed, we must be averaging the lowest scoring games in the league. I'd like to check that post-trade deadline. It's like we now threw other teams in quicksand. Well, I was seeing the stat last night that the Bulls are one of the best defensive teams in the league in some ways. That's pretty interesting stuff. I don't know what the stats are exactly, but there's probably a lot of truth to what you're saying, Nameless, as far as our changes with our defensive stats since Poeltl showed up are probably way better. I know that when he's on the court, the stats are very different, and there is a very much a difference in the plus minus and our defensive rating with him out there. So it's really good. Tom Duke is in the house. West Coast Raptor Freaks. Bonjour. Thanks for the timely 3 threes. Bonjour Tres Boucher. Thank you for the way you play. Yes, thank you, Chris. It's like, once again, he's another guy on this team that's giving us different kinds of contributions on different nights. Some nights he's an offensive rebounding menace, and he is just after it and going after it. Well, last night he was showing his 3-point side a little bit more and shooting a lot of threes. I guess maybe he recognized that the team needed more 3-pointers, and so he really focused on that. I think that's true. I think that's really good. Let's see on the team stats. I'll just go over the team stats real quick. Just like I kind of went over the shooting already. The fact that we shot 40% and they shot 52% and we still won by 6 is fantastic. We beat them at the 3-point line, even though they shot better there. Also, we made 5 more threes. That's huge. The free throws were interesting. They weren't really calling a lot of fouls early on, but there were more by the end of the game. And then there were little real weird ones. Like they put OG on the line for one that was questionable whether it should be side out or on the line. And when the refs were in the middle of the court talking about that play, you guys will know what I'm talking about. They decided to put him on the line. And I'm going to tell you why. I think it's because they looked at the free throws attempted and they're like, you know what? We need to give them a little bit more free throws. And that's why they put OG on the line. In that one play where he's making a move and he was kind of dribbling towards the basket, he hadn't really come up with his shot yet totally. But they said, yeah, he was in the act of shooting and they put him on the line. I'll take it. I'm not upset. But I thought it was really funny how the 3 referees got together in a huddle and they decided that. They were wishy-washy. They were kind of like, should we side out or should we put him on the line? Well, how many free throws have they shot for the game? Oh, okay. Yeah, let's put him on the line. We'll even up that number real quick. You notice that part that I'm talking about when OG, it was like ambiguous whether it would be side out or a free throw. That was interesting. We out rebounded them by 12. That's a huge stat. Honestly, that is a huge reason why we won. 19 offensive rebounds is huge. That is making more shots for us. And us beating them on the boards is huge. I'm telling you. You know, they had Drummond and Vucevic, but other than that, they're not a very good rebounding team. And we are a much better rebounding team overall. You know, you look at our box score with all our guys, and all these guys are getting like 6, 4, 8 rebounds. There's like 8 or 9 guys that are getting a good amount of rebounds. The assists were really interesting. Last night, we had 12 assists at halftime. And I was like, you know, it's weird. On the down low, we're actually really passing the ball really well. And much better than the last couple of games where the playing off each other wasn't very good. Well, they were on the down low doing it already really good, playing off each other. And maybe because Fred came back and he's an underlying person that will cause more assists. But at the end of the game, we had 26 assists. And that's my magic number, 25. So that means they really were sharing the ball well and finding shots. In fact, Nick looked at the assist number for how many field goals we made, and he was very happy with that. He's like, what did he say? He said 26 assists off of 38 field goals made. I'll take it. That means that only 12 of the field goals made were unassisted. And that's fantastic. So that's really, really good stuff. Steals, we won that 11-6, and the blocks were pretty even. Turnovers were great also. They turned over the ball 20 times. We only turned it over 12. Points in the paint, exactly even. So, yeah, some battles won by the Raptors. Rebounds, big time, and three-point shots, very important wins for the Raptors in the team stats. Sheer Khan's here. Good morning to Sheer Khan. Good morning, Raptor freaks. Fourth quarter, Scottie is back. The first 3 quarters were meh, but I at least didn't implode. More complete team with Yacht starting and Gary Trent closing. Fred did facilitate, but shooting not there. Yeah. Fred, his rhythm's not back yet. Obviously, he didn't have his legs. In fact, he looked a little weak. Like he looked a little skinnier than he did before the break. It may be that he took the whole week, 2 weeks off, and he didn't do anything. Like who knows what he did over the break, because he didn't look like he was in total game shape. He looked a little skinny. Like I said, he didn't look like he was as big and muscular as normal. And he also looked like off his rhythm, obviously, with the shot. Tom's saying creating new ways to win instead of losing is way more fun. I agree. And having more weapons in your cache to go and use in different ways, like Will Barton and Jakob Poeltl, really helps also. Yeah, we have different looks we can do. There's some versatility, and there's a lot of different kind of like things that Nick can play around with and toy with how he plays rotations and the combinations with Will Barton here and Jakob Poeltl on our team now. So this will be very interesting to see how much Barton contributes and will he be a hero? You know, Fred said in his interview after the game that having a guy like Will the Thrill on the team, he's the kind of guy that can go out there and score 30 points for you on any given night, just all of a sudden. And he's right. I mean, he has a track record for this. I can look at Will Barton's career stats, and he has averaged 11 points his whole career. And in fact, a lot of those seasons with Denver, he was a 15 points per game scorer, and he makes threes. Like he really does make threes. He's a very good 3-point shooter. So what's not to like about this? And on the down low, he's good at stealing the ball too, guys. He's not bad at like coughing up, making them cough up the ball. So I'm very, very happy about this move. Cool Cat is saying Will Barton is a pure hooper. Happy to have him on board. We now have a backup player for every position. Competition is great. No player is safe for their job. Masai said he's serious. That's right. We want to get a better bench. We want to get better output. We'll make it more competitive, make it tougher to get time on the court because you have to play that much better and have that much more level. And I like that this depth will maybe like put the minutes down on the starters. None of this Nick Nurse stretch run, 40 minutes for my 5 starters because there's just too many good players on the bench that you're going to have to play also. And that will keep our guys down from being worn out by the end of the year by playing like 40 plus minutes in games. I don't think anybody should be playing over 40 minutes or even close to that. Nick has said if he had it his way, guys would play about 35 minutes. So let's see. What are the minutes police saying this morning? He did exactly that. He did not go over 35 minutes with anyone. Scottie and Freddie, the highest minutes, 35 minutes, 34 minutes for Pascal and OG. That's perfect. That's fantastic. That is what we want to see. That ceiling of 35 minutes. Nobody should be playing over that for the rest of the season. We have too many good players, too much depth, and we should not be overplaying anyone at this point. It's really good. Really, really, really good. And he is a hooper. I love that about him too, Cool Cat. That we needed that little bit of Will Lou Hooper kind of mentality, and Will Barton has it. He is exact. In fact, it's weird because I think he's a player that we talked about a little bit last year. Like he's not a name that you talk about a lot, but some people were saying last summer if we could get a Will Barton type player, that would be really good. Well, we got Will Barton. We don't just need a type player like him. We got him himself. Logical saying clearance price, more like store is getting demolished tomorrow. Gives us anything price. Everything must go price. Because the store is getting the wrecking ball in the morning. That's what Mike is saying. Yeah. I mean, very much clearance as far as if you don't get this clearance price and do this, you may not be in the league anymore. Because it's like the first is coming quick, midnight, and you will not be able to get onto another team. So what are you going to do, Will Barton? It's the very last second. Nobody's got the interest for you on the buyout market except for the Raptors. You'll take dirt cheap money to come here and play the rest of the season with us. I'm sure he's not upset. Listen, it's going to be fun. I think, I don't know. I don't know his personality very much or anything, but he's an old pro. He's going to have that mentality of professionalism if he's stuck around the league this long. And I just like some of the experience. And another thing about getting Will Barton that nobody's talking about, listen, we're about to go play Washington 2 games in a row. And this guy just played for Washington. He was on Washington this year, in fact. So in some ways, it's kind of like you get guys that are familiar with systems that you're about to play because we're going to go play Denver twice too coming up. So Will Barton on our team can help for the brain trust and like figuring out their systems and what they may be doing, partly because he's super familiar with it. Because how many years was he in Denver playing with Jokic? He was over there for like 7-8 years. He played for Denver 8 years. And we're going to play Denver twice very soon. That can be very helpful. And then he played for Washington this year, and we're bound to play Washington 2 games in a row. That can be very helpful. So on the download, that's part of the Will Barton acquisition that's very interesting that people may not realize is that he has played for 2 of the teams we're going to play 2 games against very soon, and that he could be very good for scouting. So I like that. Monique is here. Raptors super fan. Monique Lawrence is in the house. Good morning, everyone. What a win. 3 stars of the game. Poeltl, Gary, and OG. Bonus, Scottie Chris with massive threes. Pascal, love the signing of Will. You could go have like 6 stars of the game last night. Really, you name all 3 of those guys. Poeltl, Gary, OG, Scottie, Chris, Pascal, they're all willing, they all kind of earned stars in different ways. It was very even, and I like that. Like if I'm trying to figure out who the 3 stars of the game are, I want it to be kind of ambiguous and difficult to suss it out because that means that there was really equal contributions across the board, and that is good for team health and team winning. When it's very equal across, there's not one guy has to score 40 points and everybody else is describing together. You get equal stuff from Pascal, OG, Scottie, Fred in his own way this time, Poeltl, Chris off the bench, Precious doing this, that doing that. That is really, really good, the balance. So when we have a hard time or we all have different 3 stars of the game, that's good. That's a very good indicator of equitability and like balance on our team. And I love that. I love that so much. Forgetful saying morning. I'm happy to hear you bring up Tim Duncan with regard to Scottie. In my opinion, Scottie should emulate a mashup of Barkley and Duncan and forget the point guard aspiration. Practice in close bank shots, Mr. Barnes. I love this statement, Forgetful. And yeah, I'm in agreement with you. It's kind of like almost like, all right, listen, you guys can have a hybrid car, and it mostly runs on electricity. You like to run it on electricity because you don't want to run it on gas. Because you like to save the gas. So you run it on electricity most of the time. And that may be Scottie as the point forward that Forgetful's describing right here is more the defensive, like the low post Kawhi. I'm going in there and I'm going to just muscle you with my big, huge hands and make really high percentage shots over you. With the little gas tank of being a point guard, just in case, like as a secondary kind of thing. Besides all that, I really love what you're saying because I do think that that is where he could make more money for himself as a player and develop to become more of a bigger superstar if he does focus on this aspect more that you're saying right here, Forgetful. I agree that like I said, this Tim Duncan aspect to him as far as a team defender and maybe shot blocker, rebounder kind of thing is very real. And it's something that most fans won't pick up on, partly because they don't look at that kind of stuff because they don't enjoy it. But I am really looking at him in that team defense aspect. And there are so many parallels to him and Tim Duncan in different ways. And that's why I think it's fair. And some people may go, oh, that's crazy. Now, the Barkley comparison's very interesting. I have not thought about him like being like Barkley, but in some ways I can see what you're saying because he's a very agile, big, strong guy, in that way. But I don't know. It's still Kawhi to me. It's almost like, all right, on team defense in the fourth quarter last night, he was doing his Duncan impression, but we see him do his Kawhi impression with his low post offense. But then we also see his Magic Johnson impression with his vision, his no looks, and his passing. And I really do think you're right that I think that he should be more going into like that low post scorer kind of thing, because in some ways that's being more like Kawhi. You can always do the point guard and the passing stuff as a secondary thing at any given time, Scotty. It's like we know you can do that. But if you really focus on being that scorer and becoming an unstoppable offensive player down near the basket, that's where the money is. And that's where you could probably help our team the most. The playmaking will always be there, and we'll be happy to see it show up from time to time, but maybe not having the burden of leading the team and controlling the flow of the game and managing everything, but instead being this guy who just like takes it to them down low is a much better role for you. And I like what Forgetful's saying here. I think I agree with this, that the point guard skills are great, and you may fancy yourself as a point guard, Scott, but you may really want to strongly consider trying to make your personality on the court and what you do, your bread and butter, more what we're describing as far as like the Kawhi stuff. Yeah. And then the Duncan defensive stuff too. Top saying the sooner we turn over the keys to Scottie, the better. Pascal in the number one spot is hard to watch. His game is neutralized easily. Next year, we give the keys to Scottie. Team can still be saved in off season. Well, I don't really look at it like as there's one guy with the keys. They all drive at different times. And it really is like you should look at it this way, top. Think about OG and Pascal and how they coexist and how they go about both getting their shine in spots. I know that Pascal's really the primary guy and he gets the most opportunities. And that may be what you're alluding to, that you'd rather have somebody else step up and get more touches than him. And I can get behind that to a degree. I just wanted to be more equitable across the board. Like if Siakam's going to get 12 shots, I'd like OG to get 10 or 12 himself. I'd like Scottie to get the same. In fact, I don't want anybody to get like 20 shots anymore. I think that everybody should be getting between 12 to 15 among the starters. And that is a good way to make it more equitable. But it partly is that Siakam just becomes the man because he is the guy who is scoring the most points. And he is the best and has the easiest time scoring, even though it seems like it's so difficult. I don't know. We're going to have to see how this naturally evolves. It's not just as simple as saying, okay, we're giving the keys to Scottie next season, and he's the number one option. It's not going to be that simple. Siakam is not going to be dethroned from being the number one option until it's absolutely for sure that Scottie should be the number one option. And I don't think that we can say that that's for sure. And we may not even be next year that we can say that either. So I would say patience with this top of top. But I think that you're right that this will eventually evolve this way. But I think it'll be more equitable and it'll be more across the board even is what it'll look like more than like just say Scottie's going to step up and shoot as much as Pascal has recently. I think it's just going to be more like even contributions because you got OG doing his thing. You need even Precious can be involved in this. And obviously Gary and Fred are going to get theirs too. So Shere Khan saying DeMar said that he'll get 50 on Pascal. That backfired. All fun and games though. Love seeing him back in the building. That OG dunk was nice. But Scottie stole the spotlight at the end there. Yeah. We just love DeMar. He got such a good ovation before the game, and he rightfully so. Like, honestly, there is really a lot of love between Toronto, him, and the fans. He has a bitter taste in some ways about things, but listen, understandably. But like I said, once his number 10 is in our rafters and we retire his number, everything hopefully will be healed and he can hopefully be a part of our alumni and be active around our team more. Because in some ways, think about it, like, is he more of a Spurs Nation or Bulls Nation? No, he is a Raptor and he's in Raptors Nation. He will always have the most special place here because he spent the most time here. And that his most important, some of the most special things that happened to him were here in a Toronto Raptors uniform. So when he retires, I don't expect him, like, he'll be a part of Bulls and Spurs alumni, but he really is a Raptors alumni. And we need to celebrate him like that, even though, he may be pissed off at Masai still. All right, let's see. Logical saying, top of top, not gonna lie. What do you mean saved? Let me guess who you think we need saving from. Nah, let's not read into that comment. It is quite literally correct that that Scottie did save the game last night to a degree with the blocks and doing a couple things. He was very much a leader at the end of the game. So I wouldn't read too far into that, Mike. I don't think he's trying to diss Fred because Fred had his part in helping to manage the game to the win too. So yeah, I wouldn't say that. Fiercely saying SB4 it is. Yeah, SB fourth. I just think that sounds good. SB fourth or Scottie be fourth. Scottie be fourth. Be the fourth be with you, Scottie. Or Scott be the fourth be with you. May the fourth be with you, Scottie. Let's see. Looking forward to the upcoming games. We're getting there, fam. 31 and 32 record. Let's claim our spot and push off Atlanta, Miami, and Brooklyn. Yeah, we're very close to Atlanta right now, half game. And, well, we need to beat Washington 2 games in a row, and hopefully we'll be even over 500 and then closer to that playoff spot that the Knicks are sitting in, or even the Nets. Get one of those spots from them. The Knicks continue to win, so maybe they're going to stay in the playoffs and the Nets will fall out and we'll take their spot. Miami is struggling also, but yeah, 31 and 32. We got to get to 32 and 32, and then we'll be 33 and 32, and then keep going and stay above 500 Raptors. That's what we want. That's what we want. Fiercely wants it. Up to order. We're going to go get that. Cowboys here. Good to see Canadian Cowboy on this kind of wintry, dark 1st of March. It is March 1st, y'all. Let's see. Good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. Great game. Can't wait for tomorrow. Let's go. Plus, nice to pick up Barton. Now it's like thinking about all the B names on our team. We got Banton, Barton, and Barnes. Banton, Barton, and Barnes. It's almost like we get a little bit of a tongue twister here. It's like all these B names. Banton, Barton, and Barnes. Call Cholino and Barnes. No, there's no more Cholino and Barnes. It's Banton, Barton, and Barnes. Call the law firm. Banton, Barton, and Barnes. Monique saying, see how good we frustrated DeMar and how he came off the court first. Love the name Layla. Yeah, I love that name too. When Fred told us it was a little girl and her name is Layla VanVleet, I was like, that is such a badass name. Layla VanVleet. Of course, I think about that old Eric Clapton song, Layla, you got me on my knees, Layla, begging darling, please. I'll bet you Fred will be singing that at some point when she's 2 years old and she's having a temper tantrum. She'll be like, Layla, you got me on my knees, go to bed. There'd be a little bit of singing Layla probably about that. But no, I love the name too. He's got Sana, Fred Jr., and Layla. That little VanVleet brood, I love it. I love that family so much. And like I said, listen, I was mad at Fred on Monday, but I love you, Fred, and thank you for coming back and being that leader last night and helping guiding us to victory. See, I'm not like these other guys that are going to come and tear you down just to tear you down. I want you to show up and be there for us. That's all I want, because I know you'll be there and you'll do good things for us. But yeah, it's such a nice. And listen, I love what Fred was saying. He said some of the things in the post game that really kind of made things better for me as far as things. He said that he's very understands that he has a blessed lifestyle and that he does not take it for granted, and that he understands that he is very blessed to live the life of an NBA player. And I hearing him have that gratitude in the interview made me realize I cannot doubt this man. I should trust in Fred that he has the right attitude about our team and winning, and that I'm not worried about him this summer. I may have been worried on Monday because he didn't show up on Sunday, but not anymore. He came to the game last night. He only got one shot, made 3 points, but he got 9 assists and helped lead the team. And then he said so many of the right things in the after game at the press. So thank you, Fred. I will defend you against all these motherfuckers today that are mad at you for only getting 3-pointer. All right. Seymour's saying, I asked you guys who we can get from the buyout market. You guys said our team is full. Okay. Then we signed Will Barton. Good pickup. I knew Juancho was going to get cut. He was totally out of the loop. Seymour, I apologize for not thinking about this more seriously. I really thought they were done. It just seemed like they didn't have to do anything, but I'm glad they did. I'm very, very glad they did this. And you were right. All right. You want some credit. I'm glad that you thought about the buyout market still being a factor and that the Raptors may still utilize it. Good job, Bobby Webster. This is really a big move. You got logical Raptors fanatics seal of approvals with a check mark on really smart acquisition yesterday. And that I really am liking it too in a lot of ways. So Seymour, you were right. I apologize for not thinking that we might do something before the trade deadline. Please forgive me, because I honestly was like, okay, we don't need to do anything. Well, Bobby said, yeah, we do. And he went and did something, and much to the delight of Raptors Nation. I'm sorry, Juancho. We appreciate you. And you know what? I'll make sure this summer, Juancho Hernangomez, that you get a Saturday Share the Love Club. We will honor you this summer for your contributions to our team this summer. Don't worry. We will get you in there this summer, and we'll get you that Saturday Share the Love Club. You guys know my off-season schedule. On Saturdays, we do the Share the Love Club, inspired by Gary and Scottie, talking about how we got to share the love in this world. There needs to be more love. Well, we like to show appreciation for people in the Raptors organization, and that is one of our off-season days. On Saturdays, we do the Share the Love Club, and Juancho will be getting his Saturday Share the Love Club. Trust me, he will be, yeah. Nameless is saying, request, phone call to Fred with a formal apology. All right. All right, this is a good one. This is a good one, Nameless. All right, fine. All right, let me call Fred. It's just ringing. You know, he's got a baby. He's probably really busy. It's just got a newborn. Okay, it's going to message. I'm going to leave him a message, okay? Hey, Fred, this is the Raptors Freak. I know you probably don't know who I am. I'm a nobody. I'm on YouTube. Don't worry about me. But I just wanted to say, listen, I appreciate you coming back last night and helping leading the team to a victory over the Bulls with your 9 assists and your leadership. You've proven all the haters wrong, that you can be a leader, unselfish leader that doesn't need to shoot all the time, and that you can distribute and be that point guard. And I really, really do appreciate that. I want to formally apologize to you for not believing in you as far as what what you care about with this team is, because I got a really bad message when on Sunday when you didn't come to Cleveland and play for us. I really was upset about that. I apologize for being upset with you. I did not realize that you had a tragedy in your family, a death in the family, and I feel really bad now for being upset with you on Monday. And I apologize all around for everything. And I appreciate you as the captain of the Raptors, and go Raptors. Sorry. Oh, beep. It beeped. I think I got that in there at the end. I don't know. Well, yeah. All right. There's my formal apology, Nameless, by request. I have no problem with that. Logical saying, Layla, not going to lie. Interesting name. I see a mix of Lowry and Kyle in there. Not going to lie. If it's based off that, wow, big respect for the growth. You think that the baby's name is Layla because of Kyle? I don't know. That may be kind of like I don't know if I can see that connection. That doesn't make any sense totally to me. I mean, maybe. I mean, there's a little bit of kind of the play in there, but I don't think so. They could very well be. It's a family name somewhere in either of Shantae or Fred's families. It could be all kinds of reasons. And to me, it's like, all right, VanVleet is such an interesting last name. In some ways, it's like that band Greta Van Vliet or whatever. Like they're like they sound like Led Zeppelin, but they dress like them and they play like crazy ass like rock, and they're pretty good. I don't mind Greta Van Vliet; they're a throwback. But it's like Layla Van Vliet kind of goes along with that name is what it was making me think. So it makes me really feel like a rock, like she's a rock star. Like Layla is a rock star name. It very much is because of that Clapton song and the history of it. That is the first thing people think of when they hear the name Layla is that song Layla. And I think that that's going to be like something that she's either going to be annoyed with or she's going to be very much embrace it as part of her personality, the song Layla. But it may very well be, yeah, I've heard that over and over again. Just ask a girl named Rhonda what everybody says to her. And you will know that they say, "Help me, Rhonda, help me, Rhonda." And they get really annoyed with it. I dated a girl named Rhonda, and I did that to her, and she wanted to slap me. So yeah, you don't want to, in some ways it's like the name is synonymous with the song. That may be interesting. It may be that she uses a short name, like she maybe go by Lele or something like that. Will be interesting to see. And it'll be just fun to see the new generations of our Raptors and their kids coming up. And who knows, will these be players in the WNBA and the NBA someday? Will Fred VanVleet Jr. be in the NBA one day? Like Bronny's coming in for LeBron. Will one of his sisters be in the WNBA someday? I love the prospect of these youngsters coming up, whether it's Thad's kids, Gary's brothers, whoever, DeMar's kids. It's just fun to think about the new generations coming up and the legacies that are possible. Gary Trent Sr. became Gary Trent Jr. And we really are reaping the rewards of that connection now with Gary on our team. So it's very interesting stuff. If it is an homage to Kyle Lowry in some sort of way, then that's great. And I could see why Fred would do that for Kyle because he does mean that much to him. So, Mike, you might be right. It's just I never thought about that connection. It does seem like a stretch. Shir Khan saying time off, totally understandable with these circumstances. He did what was needed of him in the game, though. What's going on with Precious? Defense is fine, but what happened to his offense? Need to focus more. Well, Precious is all right. Listen, Precious has a weird offensive game. It's awkward. And in some ways, he's looked way more graceful in the last 2 years than he probably should have. He should have been more awkward, having more problems. Think about OG's struggles as a young player with dribbling the ball and turnovers and different issues like that. Precious has been very clean compared to OG when he was his age. So in some ways, I really like what Precious has been doing, but we got to expect, like with all the players, different like levels of like doing really well and then kind of having and then doing really well and kind of and it may be right now he's having a little bit of development struggle time with his offense, and some of it is spacing, some of it is just decision making in the situation. Like he tried to force the ball through like two defenders once or twice last night, and it's kind of like, all right, pass it or maybe do this differently. Sometimes he can be awkward in that way. But considering he could be way more awkward and turning the ball way more over, he's actually doing a good job. So it's like you're used to him being at a certain level of excellence because he's making the shots, converting, doing all this stuff. Well, if he's not converting and he's still doing all that stuff, it may look like he's failing. And that may be part of the difference also. But I think he's all right. I think all these guys can focus more in different ways throughout the whole 48 minutes of the game. Whether it's Scottie, we talked about how he could possibly focus more. All these guys could focus more in different ways. And that's just the way it is with young players that are coming up. They have to learn how to be fully engaged in the game, the full 48 minutes, and really have no lapses of like not really thinking or just kind of like being out there like a bump on the log. They got to be fully involved all the time and engaged. And sometimes there's lapses of that. And that's just common with young players. It's going to happen. But Precious and Scottie, it's not that bad with them. It could be way, way worse, the lapses and the mistakes that they cause. They really are not causing a whole lot of mistakes considering. Let's see. Mike saying Seymour, I came in first thing, said I gave incorrect information and explained it in logic. Will Barton took peanuts, basically, which isn't normal. My bad, bro. But Ibaka and Green and Wall weren't going to take 1 million. Listen, Seymour was right about we needed to do something still, and we did. And you know what? Don't worry about it, Mike. You gave us what was possible, but you didn't realize that Will Barton would take peanuts, as you put it. And that's all good. Tristan's here. We got to give some high fives and high tens to Tristan here. All right, let me get back to that comment. Pow, 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 pow. Jimmy saying Scottie is that guy. Yeah, Quentin Grimes, you is not him, but Scottie is him. That's for sure. Seymour saying, if I'm not mistaken, Masai brought Barton in the Denver program. They have a great relationship. It's going to work. That is another connection that I didn't think about. I mean, let's think about it, though. Let me see when he come into Denver. It's too late, the timeline. So that doesn't actually work because he was already here in Toronto. So that is mistaken, Seymour. There's no way that he had something to do with him being there. But we will say this, because Masai's connection to the Nuggets organization, it could very well be that he was familiar with them to an extent. But by 2015, when Will Barton showed up on the Nuggets, Masai was already here with us and wasn't involved at that point. So it could very well be that they, listen, he's a pro. And listen, like I said, he wants to stay in the league. He's going to be doing everything he can to bust his ass for our team. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the prospects of what he can contribute to help us. Monique saying, if we play like we played versus the Pistons on the road, watch out, NBA playoffs are calling. I don't know, Monique. We got to play better than that. Honestly, these games against Chicago and Detroit recently are ugly with a big UGLY. You ain't got no alibi, Raptors game. You've been ugly. And I'm okay with winning that way. And in some ways, the playoffs just naturally turn into that kind of style of low scoring, grind it out, really hard to get any baskets. And that's true. But we do need to show some more like offensive get up and go and some firepower, because not all the games will be like that. There may be games where we need to really much get in a scoring match near the end of the season. Obviously, with Boston and Milwaukee games, we're going to have to match them. So, and this is what Nick said after the game in his interview. He really feels like the offense is about to come around. He can see that they're about to turn the corner and that everything is going to be a lot smoother with our offense very soon. That's what Nick is predicting and seeing from his coach's perspective. So I hope he's right, and hopefully we'll see it and we'll be like, oh, that's what he was talking about. Yeah, everything's a lot easier all of a sudden for some reason. So I'm excited about it. But yeah, we got to play better than we played last night. We got to play better than we played against New Orleans and Detroit. We have to play at a better level, and that's what we're trying to build and workshop and play better as we close the season. We have to improve. We just have to. We have not played very well in some ways. We really haven't. Seymour saying we're going to the dance, and yes, we have a chance. Are you saying that we have a chance, Seymour? Are you saying that we have a chance? We're going to the dance? Wait, are we in March Madness? It is March. Mike saying Seymour, Will Barton came to Denver in 2014. So that's like 1.5 years after he left. Okay, that's what I was looking at too. So Mike's falling up too. But I'm sure he talked to Portland before about Will Barton and was a guy he wanted to trade for when he was on Denver, though. I'm really intrigued by the timing of getting him with who we're playing. Like I said, 2 Washington games this week. He was just on Washington this season. And then we're going to go to Denver on this West Coast trip. And then they come back and play Denver here. 2 games against Denver and Jokic. Yeah, having Will Barton and his expertise and familiarity with those 2 franchises is going to help in the next couple of weeks. It could be very well be that Nick is like, well, what are they running on the Wizards right now? We haven't really seen them this year. Can you tell us, Will? And he was like, yeah, you could pick them apart this way. Yeah, they were really pissing me off this season. Porzingis and all them, they're annoying. I'm so glad I'm here. Yeah, I'll sell them out. I'll tell you everything. Yes, tell me all of Jokic's secrets, Will Barton. He has a corn on his middle toe on his right foot. Yes, we got that proprietary knowledge from Will Barton. He's going to tell us how to beat these teams. That's funny. All right, let's keep going. MSJ saying, nice balanced attack last night, and we shot over 40%. That's a win. We shot right at 40%. We didn't shoot over. We shot right at 40, and that's not good. Like a successful shooting percentage to me is 45%. You got to shoot at least 45%. Ideally, you're shooting 50% or more. But if you can shoot 45% to 50%, I'm always happy with that. But under 40%, 45%, I'm not happy. And under 40% is even worse. So it's like really bad is under 40%, kind of 40 to 45%, and 45 to 50, I'm okay with. 50 over, yes, ecstatic. But yeah, 40%, that's not good. Seymour saying, wow, okay, thanks, Logic. I thought I was on point with that one. Well, it's great that you're trying to make these connections and think about this in that way, because I do that kind of stuff too. That you make those connections. Another connection about Will Barton that you guys should know is he went to the University of Memphis. And we have a player on this team that went to Memphis named Precious Achua. So there may be some connections between him and Precious being from the same alma mater. So, two guys from Memphis. That's another thing that's a hidden alignment on this team with him coming in that nobody may talk about is the Memphis connection between him and Precious. So that may be interesting. Shirkan saying that successful challenge was nice because it saved OG, who was in foul trouble. That's right. And it really was a turnaround. It turned a foul on us around to a foul on DeMar. And that helped because it put him in more foul trouble also. And it was a key point late in the game, a turning point, and it was important. And James Williams so eloquently described what happened and why it was overturned. Good job. These challenges, when they make the rulings, are so crazy at this point. We saw in the last game the Cleveland got punished for challenging the refs. And that's the kind of the weird risk of taking the challenges. It's like, look, you can challenge that call, Nick, but they could have easily said, well, the foul's not on OG. He had position and he was set. It's on Scottie because he was on his shoulder behind him, DeMar, when he made that move. They could have easily said that, but no, they didn't go anything like that. They went ahead and made the right call. But that's the thing. There is a gamble and a risk when you make the challenge. Well, we've seen from Sunday, you can make things worse for yourself by challenging the refs. Really, that's what the Cavaliers found out. Make it worse. So challenge at your own risk is basically what's going on now at this point. Let's see. Seymour saying, I don't feel bad for DeMar. The mix with Levine just don't work. They play the same role. They clash. It's toxic. Maybe next year, DeMar and you ain't never going to drop 50 on us. Yeah, I think this is exactly what the problem is with them. You add in that Lonzo never showed up and contributed what he's supposed to bring to the table. And then you really do have a very kind of similar game between DeRozan and Levine. And in some ways, I've heard things about Levine this season that he hasn't been a good teammate. There was some point at some point where I heard he's not going to be on this team after this summer. So in some ways, they're in a lame duck period where they're kind of like just going through the motions for the rest of the season. And there will be some change this summer for the Bulls. And I think that it's true that Levine and DeRozan do not play well next to each other. That in some ways that is part of the problem with the mix with what's going on there. I think you hit it on the head, Seymour. Once again, Cool Cat saying the only time I got worried was fourth quarter when Bulls Vucevic was on the floor and we were playing small ball and could not stop the Bulls closing the score. I like seeing him shoot all those threes. I mean, he had some success, but I don't mind him taking those threes because in some ways that's better than him being down low, bullying us or doing something like that. Although Jakob did a really good job on him when he was out there. Yeah, I wasn't too worried because I could tell the tide of the game was changing in our favor. And they really do calculate, we need to go now and get a two possession lead at least. And for this amount of time with 5 minutes to go. And really, if we can build on it, that's great. But we have to maintain a two possession lead at least. And that, it did get down to a one possession lead with a minute to go or so. And that was scary. And it was really frustrating because we got so many chances to convert baskets in the last couple minutes of the game and we were missing. And that it was like, fuck. But they managed it all really well, regardless of the drought and the missing the bunnies and all that stuff, and them getting that close near the end. They still did it the right way. And I had full confidence, partly because Fred was out there. And then I was seeing what Scottie was doing. He was so motivated. I was like, yeah, we're going to win this game because we want it. We wanted it badder. And that's what Scottie's energy was putting out there was like, I want this win for us badder. worse, much more than you guys do. And I'm going to put my will on making us win. Block, block, block. And that was a big part of it. Monique saying, BioSteel game April the 2nd. Playoffs atmosphere game. Incredible crowd. Made it home in time for Raptors tonight. Happy atmosphere. Live stream from the guys. Good stuff, Monique. I always love that you go down the game and they get that W. In fact, I know you've gone to a lot of games this season. And I would like to see your record. I think that your record for how they've done when you've been in the building is very good. I think that it would probably be 2 wins to every loss as far as like how you've done while you've been at the building this year. I know you were at the Caribbean game last week and you were at the game last night. So there's 2 wins right there. And I know that I was at a game earlier this season when I saw you that we won. So I would be very curious to see what your record is with you in the building at games this year, Monique. If you could figure that out, let me know. That would be awesome if you know what the record is off the top of your head, or you can figure it out. But yeah, great crowd. Once again, the crowds have been good. I like that people are getting energized. And a lot of it is that our game is more exciting. People are more enthusiastic and like they are excitable with good plays like Chris Boucher dunk or Scottie Barnes block. Big plays are happening. And that is what gets our fans roused up and loud and doing good stuff to help them with the cheering. So I really like that we're making plays that get them standing and get them crazy and energized and engaged. And that's important. Sometimes that's a big problem is the fans will be bumps on the log because there's nothing exciting happening on the court. Well, we're making exciting things happen, and that's energizing the crowd. MSJ saying yesterday, I said the Raps could shut down guards bigger than DeMar, but those smaller guards like Garland, ugh. But we looked far more balanced with Fred out there. Barton off the bench is a plus. Yeah, Fred did a lot of underlying really good things last night, regardless of him not shooting well. He really, really did. And I was paying attention to him. Like I said, I was really paying attention to him. He didn't try and force anything. He didn't go to the basket at all. Almost everything he shot was from outside. He didn't try and go inside and do too much. The one time he did go in there, he got blocked pretty badly, which was not good. But otherwise, yeah. Our guard defense is really going to be like, it's nice to have different looks off the bench, whether it's Doughton Jr., Malachi, now Will Barton. He'll be able to help with the guard stuff too, because he's a good stealer too. So we'll have to see how he fits with our defense. He's going to have to learn it, and we'll see more and more against Washington, I'm sure. Let's see. Mike saying small ball takes more energy than our regular defense with a center, less help in recovery, extra movement, more weight to deal with down low. So it's key to have Poeltl to be able to have the energy. I think this is true because when Poeltl's out there, we can stay at home and play one-on-one and like not go a zone and like kind of shadowing in different ways. We can very much play guys straight up and have their assignments. Fred was talking about this after the game, that with Poeltl on the team, now we can stay home and really play one-on-one with guys. And what that means, if you play basketball, you have a guy you guard. Well, basically, if the shot goes up on their side of the ball, you have to find your man to box him out. And it's very much a linkage between you and the player that is your opposite on the other team. You're playing them on each end of the court. You're playing them on the defensive end of the court, and then also you have to find them on the box outs. And because Poeltl is here, we can do that with him on Vucevic, and we don't have to have OG and Pascal both on Vucevic. And that the late quarter, the fourth quarter defense was the old defense of us switching and agitating and running around, but it was okay because we didn't do it the whole entire game to tire ourselves out. We were able to stay at home and do the one-on-one stuff with Jakob out there for his minutes for a big bulk of the game. And then at the end of the game, when we want to do this switchable without Jakob defense that we've had to do all season, we can go back to it. But the guys aren't absolutely winded from doing it most of the game already. So in some ways, that is a real secret weapon to us at this point that we're afforded because Jakob can allow us to do this during the game. It's really, really good. And that's what Mike is saying here. I'm trying to reiterate. Seymour saying check for MSJ. 905 Yada saying salute the real ones. Great win last night. Need everything we can get. Let's fucking go, Raptors. Yes, 905 Yada. Holding it down on the 905 Mississauga. Yeah. Wayne is here. Good to see Wayne Strainer once again. Good to hear your take on the final quarter. I was screaming why Nick Nurse had Jakob on the bench. Overall, a gritty lunchbox win along with sustained teamwork onto our next 6-game win streak. Yes, Wayne. I love everything that you're saying here. I love that 6-game win streak comment. Yeah, listen, Jakob late in the game, especially in the game that's close like the one last night, he can really hurt us because basically they can foul him on purpose and put him on the line, and he will miss both free throws. He will miss one of them at least, and that's not a good return. So in some ways, we really have to play him like a Shaquille O'Neal. Back in the day, Shaq was a detriment to his teams in the last 5 minutes of the game because of Hack a Shaq. So we have to be wary of hack a yak with Jakob Poeltl because that is very much a tactic they will use with him. And that's why I'm not for him playing the end of games, is because he is a liability at the end of the games. We can get away with him hack a yak in him during the game. But if it's crucial times and we really need those free throws, now he made key free throws in the game against Detroit, but I still don't want to depend on him because he is like a 50% free throw shooter. And that is a big knock, and that's part of the reason why he probably won't play a lot of games at the end of the game. So be used to this, seeing Jakob not in the game at the end of the game, and understand that's why. That it's not anything like there's a trade off. It really is. If he plays him late in the game, that may mean that we have a good lead and we're trying to hold it, and that defensively. But if it's close or we're slightly behind, they're probably not going to play him in crunch time. So yeah. Let's see. Nameless is saying, I think DeMar tossed this game on purpose, and his behavior post game was all a ploy. Tinfoil hat on. I don't know what to think with DeMar. I mean, seriously, maybe he's real frustrated. I mean, it could be as easy as this. He felt that pain with Jakob when they went to San Antonio, and now he sees Jakob back in the Toronto uniform, and he's sitting at the free throw line. This is Jakob's back in the Toronto. And in some ways, that's all he's ever wanted. He never wanted to leave here. He was just like Fred. He said he wanted to be a Raptor for life, and we sold him out. So in some ways, him seeing Jakob get to come back here and being reacquired by us, in some ways, I'm wondering if he's thinking in his head, can I make that path back too somehow, some way? I know a lot of Raptor fans would be all about that. I'm kind of one of those, but really, what's the price, and does it fit, and does it make sense? Is what I would say. But a lot of people would love to heal that and have him come back too, just like Jakob just did. It could very well be that that's part of it. I know he's a very sensitive guy. He feels things really strongly, DeMar. And, he's really smart. So that may be part of what it is, really, seriously. Monique is saying Tyrese Maxey's favorite place to play is Toronto. I love that you brought this up, Monique, because I was going to forget about this. And this is important. Tyrese Maxey was interviewed recently talking about playing in the NBA. And he's talking about his favorite place to play is Toronto. And he's talking about the playoffs last year. And he's talking about how our fans are so crazy and energized and bring such a good atmosphere. And he loves playing in that atmosphere. But he's talking about how much we hate Joel Embiid. And he's like, holy crap, they really hate Joel in Toronto. And he's talking about it in such an innocent kind of way about himself. And I really love Tyrese Maxey after what he said. And he's like, I was there and I'm shooting free throws and they're booing me. And I called my mom after the game and I was like, they're booing me, Mom. Why are they booing me? They don't even know me. And it's like, Tyrese, you're so innocent and pure in some ways. I did not realize that, like, in this whole mix of the Sixers with big dumbass Joel was a stupid ass bullshit, floppy Joe, and all of his fucking arrogant bullshit, that there's such a fine gem of a person named Tyrese Maxey on this team with his personality, and he's just such a cool dude. Like, I love what he was saying. First of all, he's given us respect as a fan nation of being like, those fans are crazy and really passionate. But then also he showed that it was like, why do you not like me? it's like Tyrese, you play for the Sixers and we hate the Sixers. That's why. But, in a lot of ways, we don't not like you. We really do like you because you're just a cool guy. And honestly, we do really respect your game. And we really do. I love the way you play. And I think that it's so talented how you can run at full speed and hit shots. Like, nobody in the league can do this. Like, where you run completely at full speed and you don't even stop to collect yourself to shoot the shot. You're going still and you just throw it up and it goes in. That is a crazy, unique skill that hardly anybody in the history of the NBA has ever had. And, there's a lot to like and respect about you. But that interview put it over the top. Hearing his true voice and him talking about, why are they booing me, Mom, made me laugh and chuckle and just smile as a Raptor fan. And I really do, in some ways, hope we get the Sixers in the playoffs this year. because I want to revisit this stuff with Maxey to a degree. It's like now Raptor fans know how you feel. It may be even totally different too. But honestly, you gave me our respect, and we like you, Tyrese. I think most of Raptors Nation hates you for like killing us, but we really love you and respect you for your game also. So, oh, thank you, Monique, for bringing that up. I would have forgotten to bring that up if you had not put that in there. David's saying, I like the way we played last night. Not sure what all the panic is about. Raps will be fine. Yeah, we're sorting it out. And while we're sorting it out, we're still finding the wins. Like our winning clip is really good since the middle of January. We have not been losing games very much. We finished the month of February 8-3. And that is a really good month this year for how we done this season. 8-3 is a fantastic record for last month, and I'm so happy with it. Seriously, this is about what I was hoping we would do. And I'm really glad it wasn't like a 50-50 record this month, that we won 8 games and we only lost 3. And 2 of them were to Utah in bullshit ways, and then that Cleveland game. Really, really good play. They're playing winning basketball on the down low. Nobody wants to admit it in the NBA overall. They're coming, and David's right. I think they're going to be fine, especially with all the new toys that Nick Nurse has to employ in his rotation. Logical saying Yada 905, that crew chief, the one that wanted to be mayor, was the one on the mic last night. I think Jack and Matt were talking on his explanation was top tier stuff. I hope he's able to make a call. Yeah, James Williams is interesting. Like, yeah, he had a really good delivery. There was a couple little flaky calls with them. Like I said, they're not calling a lot of fouls in today's NBA. They're letting a lot go. So physicality, you cannot expect to get a whistle in any kind of way. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Just make sure y'all win. You got to work hard and make the shots, and y'all will win. And that's what y'all are doing. That's what we need. Just get that W. I don't care how ugly it is. Just keep getting those W's, Raptors. M. Jones is here. Good to see M. Jones. One of the original Raptor freaks was here last year with us. Good to see M. Jones. Did y'all see the post game with OG? He sounds like he's in a much better place with the team. And shout out to Nick Nurse for distributing proper minutes. Yeah, nobody over 35 minutes. That's fantastic. OG was never in a bad place with the team. Do not believe any of that hype, that bullshit. Bob McCown, whoever was talking about, he's unhappy. He's not. He's very happy with the way things are going. He's hurt, and he doesn't like losing. That's the problems that everybody's had on this team this year, is they don't like how much we lost this year, and our record was below 500. And then, of course, OG's still hurt. Like they showed him in the press game, the post game conference, and he's got it all wrapped up in his interview, and he's holding his wrist. He is still hurt, and he's playing through it. So yeah, I like everything that we're seeing from OG last night. He's finally come around. He woke up a little bit more offensively, and he showed his defensive prowess against DeMar DeRozan. That's really good. Trevor's saying we should have more games like this. Make it hard for their other team to beat us. Yeah, our defense is really stifling. It's really we could get our offense going. We would blow these teams out because they're not very good. Detroit and Chicago. If we had just gotten our offense clicking, we would have won these games by like 10 to 20 points. But it's just not the case. Our offense is stagnant still, but we still win despite it. And that's going to come around. It'll come around. Nick says it's going to come around. I believe him. Chris comes here. Good to see the great Chris come. Great win last night. Not going to be easy to win back-to-back in Washington, but hopefully they can pull it off. One game at a time. Take the first game real serious and get the first one, and then really do the really hard sweep in their own the other team's building in Washington at their home. Win both games against them on their court. Yeah, let's go do it. I'll have the preview tomorrow, and I'll have the latest on the Wizards team since obviously since the trade deadline and all the flux of players going every which way, I have to go and see who is exactly where at this point because it is very different around the league. And I'll have to see who they're running right now. Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porzingis, and all that stuff, Let's see. Name is saying, what a great point that is, Lex. We play Washington 2 games. See? That's what keeps us coming back, not your lack of production, lack of lighting and microphone. Oh, just the insight and just the overthinking of everything all the time. I am literally like sometimes just like in the bathroom or I'm doing something else and something will pop into my head. I'm like, oh, yeah. Will Barton played for the Nuggets and the Wizards, and we're playing them very soon. This is a smart reason to get him. I had these like aha moments all the time with the Raptors, and I kind of note them, and I'm like, all right, I got to talk about this in the stream the next day. And that Precious connection with Memphis is the other one that popped into my head yesterday. It's like when I heard Matt Devlin say that Will Barton's from Memphis, I was like, well, then he has a connection with Precious. And that's good. That's good. Yeah, listen, I could have a light. I could turn the light on. I don't have the light on in my room. I'm really going off the natural light from outside. So if it's not a very bright day, the lighting won't be very good. And I should just go get that microphone. I don't know. I'm just what I am. I'm a ragamatag outfit. Tristan say, let's go, making moves with the horse head. It's like that makes me think Godfather. That makes me start thinking of some of our mafioso friends that come in here and visit us every once in a while. And Horsehead in the bed. David Saborin said, we have fish. We named them. The two clownfish are Barnes and Banton. I kept being burnt and bailing them Barton. 3 days later, Barton was on our team, meant to be. Okay, so David has fish. I'm figuring that you and Peter have fish or something, and you've named the fish Barnes and Banton after Delano and Scottie, but you kept calling one of them Barton, and now we have Barton. Maybe this is some sort of weird, like forgetful sorcery that you did with your fish. That you kept saying something. It's like Beetlejuice. You say Beetlejuice 3 times and he appears. Well, maybe you said Barton 3 times and he appeared all of a sudden, David. So maybe it is something that you did. I don't know. The world has weird things about it that we don't fully understand. Like trees talk to each other and we can't hear them. We don't know what they're saying, but they're definitely talking to each other. Trust me. But yeah, maybe you did Beetlejuice Will Barton up with your clownfish there, David. Hilarious. You were fishing for free agents for us. Yeah. Shir Khan saying Raps holding opponents to 110 points per game even after that Cavs blowout. That's good for third best in the league average for teams this season. Also shooting 33.5% from threes since Yak in the lineup. Not too bad. The stats are starting to trend up, and that's the most important thing. Jakob shows up, and our offensive stats should be getting better. Our defensive stats have gotten better for sure, but our offensive stats need to start continuing to climb. And Shirkan's on it with that. Yeah, and I like the stat quoting here. Nameless is saying, I believe DeMar is an incredibly mature individual, and he no longer bears ill feelings toward the organization. I think that forgiveness was necessary for his well-being and mental health. Wow. This is a great statement, Nameless. And I think you're exactly right. Holding a grudge and having problems with people and holding on to them for too long is not good. It will just ruin you over time. And this is very true. This is such a powerful comment that you made here. And it's exactly right that for his own self, he needed to forgive things for a certain way. I'm pretty sure he's not mad at us in a whole lot of different ways. I don't know how cool he is with Masai and Bobby. But otherwise, I'm sure he's fine with the fans. I know he's fine with us. He's fine with the city. He loves Toronto, and he obviously still has a lot of love for his former teammates that are still here too. So yeah, you know what? That's such a good message right now, especially with these kind of situations. That sometimes you just got to forgive people that have done you wrong because that's the only way for you to have peace in your own life. And that you do it for yourself. You don't necessarily do it because you want to forgive them, but you need to because it's healthy for yourself. And I agree with this. I mean, DeMar is just such a hero for putting mental health struggles on blast in the NBA world. That listen, he's talking about stuff that's taboo for a lot of adult Black men to talk about their feelings and being sensitive and having weakness is not something that is embraced or was okay for a lot of ways. By society and among like Black men amongst each other and just in general, that he's such a good role model for coming out on this and saying it's okay that you can talk about this and you can talk about having depression. And in some ways, he's a huge hero in that regard beyond basketball. And he will be in some ways. And it's a beyond basketball kind of thing, the impact that he may have because of his stance and his openness about his struggles with his depression. And that it's like on the level of like a Bill Russell, kind of like not maybe on the huge level of Bill Russell and what he meant to race relation stuff and era of things that he was doing, but there is a definitely an impact culturally or like societally that DeMar is having in sports on the conversation of mental health that is really important. And I appreciate him for that. I really do. Let's see. Logical is saying uh, it's like, hey, let's name her after Kyle. Girl version of Kyle is Kyla, but they maybe didn't like that. And Layla said that's the one they like. I've been involved in naming babies a couple times. Mike is awesome. I would, you know what? If I ever have to name a baby, I might consult Mike. I might seriously. I'll be like, Mike, I got to name a baby. It might not be a human baby. Can you help me name it? That's interesting. That's still a little roundabout. I'm sorry. I don't make that connection. I don't make that connection. If he does come out and say, yeah, I named my child Layla after Kyle Lowry, I'll be like, okay. If he has another son, maybe his son's Kyle VanVleet. How about that? What if that happens, Mike? Like, what if Fred has another boy in the next round and he calls the kid Kyle VanVleet? That would be cool. I could see that. Nameless is saying, great point about the Denver connection narrative. Bravo, bravo. No problem, Nameless. No problem. I'm just trying to game it and figure out all of our advantages. Logical saying the league is adjusting to us with Poeltl. I said this would happen, but the depth of options Poeltl has from the bench mob year powers the adjustments to happen quicker than normally. Lex, connecting all the Will Barton connection dots and factors that could be in play. Great insight. Yeah. Well, this is the part of the reason why teams like the Knicks and the Nets go and get Yuta and Svi. They're division rivals, and they go get our guys. Yuta's in there, and like Kevin's like picking his brain. So what would the Raptors have done? What would you guys do back in the Raptors in this situation? And he was like, we are so happy and smiley. It's so fun there. What's going on here? Oh, good stuff. Tristan saying, I like to see a sort of 1-2 punch with Pascal and Yak. He seems like he's got a powerful but smooth offensive style. Yeah, he doesn't force anything. He's got size. We could beat him over the head, the other team with him, but we don't. When he gets the ball, it just comes naturally in the game. And maybe that nice little pick and roll or that two-man action with him and Pascal. He's really good at finding Pascal on the roll and getting it to him. I love that. And then vice versa. You've seen Poeltl finish at the rim from passes from Pascal and Fred yesterday. Really, really good stuff. And he's pretty smooth. Like I'd seen him miss a couple bunnies. I'm like, oh crap, Jakob's not playing very well. But then at the end of the game, I look at the stat sheet and I'm like, holy shit, he shot 6 for 9. He actually did shoot really well. So I only just saw the misses and they were really paramount, but I didn't see all the little easy shots he made also to make it 6 for 9 by the end of the game. Mike's saying Yak needs time with us to get his free throws respectable. I'm not I'm not holding my breath on a 7-year vet getting better at free throws. I'm sorry. You're this far into your career and you're still shooting 50%. That's just your lot. I'm sorry. It's the same thing with Shaq. Shaq never got better at free throws by the end of his career. It was always a struggle. He would get the best free throw specialist to come in and teach him, and he never got better at free throws. It didn't fucking matter. So I don't expect this from Jakob. And I don't necessarily, if this happens, that's great. That's a great development. But if that's the development that's happening now, I'd be like, why the fuck didn't you get better at free throws 3 or 4 years ago in your career instead of starting to do it now? So I wouldn't hold your breath on this, Mike. I don't think he will. It's much more likely he gets a 3-point shot than he gets better at free throws. Let's just put it that way. David's saying, I love Maxey. Would be happy to have him on the roster. On the roaster. That's a funny little misspelling. I would love to have Maxey on my team any day. He has a green light. He's that kind of guy I'd love to have on the Raptors for sure. Oh yeah, Sixers fan. You got somebody we like. Monique saying, can you believe that we are only 2 months away from the WNBA game being in Toronto? Ooh, good early warning, Monique. This is really good. Y'all get ready. When those tickets go on sale, let's sell the hell out of it quick. So we show the purchasing power and the economic support that will be behind the WNBA coming to Toronto. We want to give them every indication that we will support the hell out of a WNBA team with the Raptors. I want to see this happen. So let's not fuck this up, Toronto. Let's get there and sell it out and show that we want a WNBA team by all means, and we want it now. So yeah, I'm all about it. 2 months from now, and then one from the month from now, very soon. Tom Duke gonna be in the Toronto in the T Dot here, coming to see all of us and going to a couple of games. Gonna go see the College Parks Hawks against the 905 with Greg out in Mississauga, and then playing the Pacers here in Toronto. We'll be going to that game. Tom got us really good seats. Holy crap! The seats that Tom Duke got for that Pacers game for us on the 20th or so are amazing. In fact, I was telling Tom, I was like, don't expect to get autographs from the players in Scotiabank Arena. It's not going to be like in BC when you saw them at open practice. You could get towards them and near them in the arena a little easier. In the Scotiabank Arena, it's really hard to get anywhere near the team. Well, Tom happened to purchase tickets in the 115 section that is right next to where the players come out. So we will actually have a chance to try and get stuff signed because we're going to be right next to where they come out. I've never sat in that section before exactly. I've sat near it. So this will be interesting, Tom. You going and getting some crazy ass lower bowl seats right near the entrance where the Raptors come out. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And apparently we're going with Greg. So it'll be Greg, the Raptor Freak, and Tom Duke at the game for that one. That'll be fun. It'll be good times. I'm excited about it later this month. So things to look forward to coming up. Tom Duke's visit to Toronto and the WNBA game in Toronto also. Cool Cat saying being the first option means consistency, ball dribble, and being able to handle teams planning for you. Right now, it's easier for everyone to shoot because Pascal has 2 to 4 players defending him. Once again, Cool Cat is one of the biggest supporters of Pascal and showing the reality of what all he has to deal with to be who he is as the number one guy. And she's exactly right that this isn't just easy. You know, Scottie may not be able to do what he's doing like Pascal's doing right now successfully as much as Pascal has. He built himself into being able to do this. And we saw the struggles over the years with Pascal of success and failure to get to this level where he is now. Well, Scottie's got to go down a similar path. And it's not just as simple as giving him the keys and saying, okay, now you're the number one. He's got to earn it, prove it, and show that he can consistently do it, like Cool Cat is saying. It's all about all kinds of different things. He's got to be able to beat 3 guys 3-on-1, like Pascal does sometimes. And so really, really good perspective of realism of this situation from Cool Cat. And once again, standing for Pascal and really making us all realize he does deal with a lot more than we realize as far as the attention, the physicality, and the way teams scheme to try and stop him. So Seymour saying, if Embiid didn't step on Scottie's ankle, that series would have went down different. Trust me, not the process. Are you saying that we have a chance? Yeah, I completely agree with this. We should have beat Philadelphia in the first round last year. We just had a couple bad things happen, a little bit orchestrated by refs, injuries, Gary Trent flu, all kinds of different issues. It was a perfect storm of bad stuff. And Embiid was really feeling good too. Jimmy's saying, I was as surprised we got Barton. Dude could have gone anywhere. I mean, maybe he could have gone anywhere. I mean, the spots were filling up. You know, we saw a lot of flurry of like buyout activity. That's part of why I don't know who is all where. The dust settled after yesterday. I don't know. I'm going to have to check each team by team. Now, as far as Barton having options, I don't know what his options were. I think Mike might be right that it was very much the last second and he needed to do something. And we bailed him out at the very last second and gave him an opportunity. It may not be that he had a whole lot of options. So it may be like that, actually. Let's see. David's saying Poeltl is going to body Washington. Yeah, listen, Washington's big. They've got a double center lineup with Porzingis and Gafford. I know I've got Gafford on my fantasy team. He's up and down, but he's been having double games recently where he really does like go after getting rebounds and being a presence in games. He's at a point in his development in his career that he kind of needs to be more steady. He's been a bench big at times, and he's been kind of like had promise, but he's really getting to that year in his career where Daniel Gafford needs to be a very consistent night in, night out. And he's not totally showing that yet. So there is big guys that are going to be a problem that we're going to need to really use Yak against. Porzingis, obviously, he'll help against him in better ways. I like Koloko getting played against Porzingis, obviously for different reasons. And then don't underestimate Gafford right now. He is playing very well. I'll do all the work today to preview them for tomorrow. But just from my initial knowing what's going on with Washington, Gafford's playing well recently. So let's see. W is for Wednesday. W for last night. W for Wednesday. And W for the benevolent Isaac Campbell holding it down in Ottawa. Wayne Strainer saying our style of basketball is basically playoff basketball. This is true. During the regular season, once we enter the postseason, we're ahead in terms of what it takes to win playoff games. Offensive trajectory is up. Well, we definitely are not shell shocked by the difference in contact and intensity because we're already kind of playing in that crazy ass intensity and playoff kind of style. It's definitely true. But there is a little bit of a more ratcheting up of physicality that we have to be ready and brace for also. But yeah, I think this is all very true what Wayne's saying as far as like we play a very much a playoff style in the regular season, whereas a lot of teams are not playing a playoff style in the regular season. They're playing like crazy ass high scoring. That may not translate as well in the second season. Like our style will be very much similar. And that may hurt people in some ways. They may really rely on trying to outscore people. But if somebody plays a really good defense against them like we do, that will beat them because they can't score any points. And maybe their defense isn't as good and we can still score points on them. That's how it works, where our defense beats offense. And I love that. Seymour saying Snowfall, episode 3 tonight. All right, he's putting that on blast. James Williams' favorite TV show, Snowfall, has episode 3 tonight. Very on hip kind of guy, James Williams, to be watching a hip show like that. All right, so watch Snowfall. Hopefully none of that outside, though, in real life. Snowfall on the TV, but not outside. Sheer Khan saying, great stream after Raptors W. Got to go for training at work. We'll also keep an eye on Cavs at Boston today to see how they call it. Maybe get a taste of their own medicine and cry like babies. Sheer Khan, you go ahead and have a good time at your training. And thank you for mentioning this Cavs at Boston game tonight. Yes, we'll have to see how the refs deal with it, and we'll see who they favor and see who wins this game. I love that Boston's knocked out of the first spot and that Milwaukee is number 1 in the Eastern Conference right now. That is awesome. I love that. Mike is saying, I've noticed changes in his form already, not going to lie. I see it happening at the moment. Spurs probably don't have a great shooting coach like our head coach, Nick Nurse. I don't even know if Nick Nurse is a great shooting coach. I think all this shooting camp late at night stuff is overblown. I don't think we get the results to say that Nick is some sort of amazing shooting coach. I'm sorry. The stuff I've seen from practice is Poeltl testing out mid-range and maybe a little bit of long-range shots, but not, I mean, like I said, Mike, the free throw thing is something he doesn't need anybody else to work on. He could get with like one trainer that specializes in form. You know, he could try and do that one-handed free throw thing that some players are doing around the league right now that struggle. They switch to just one-handed free throw shooting, and he may have some success at that. I don't know. I really, like I said, he's been in the league for 7 years. Why the fuck hasn't he gotten better already if he's going to get better, Mike? That's just the way it is with free throws. Seymour saying Malachi's future is not looking bright. Yeah. I mean, it's gotten more crowded for him to make a distinction for himself. And, you know, I don't know what he is for which contract and what his path will be with us, but that may be very true. Tom Duke is saying W is also for woohoo! Woohoo! Yeah, W is for all kinds of things like Wheezy. Tristan saying, I do feel bad for Malachi. Laugh out loud. He did not look happy. Listen, it got tougher for everybody with Will Barton showing up. It got tougher for Jeff Doughton. It got tougher for Gary. It got tougher for Malachi. It got tougher for Delano. All these guys are going to be fighting for the same thing. And that's why this is good, because we'll get the absolute best out of these guys. You cannot be half-assed. You have to play really good to earn any minutes in the Raptors rotation. There's just too many good players at this point. And if you don't play well, you ain't going to play. So, yeah, Malachi's had his ups and downs. I really like what he did in the Cleveland game, even though we lost. But, you know, the chances have been given a lot over time for him in the last 3 seasons. And, you know, they may be running out is what's happening. Isaac saying, and West Coast Raptor Freak, Tom Duke. That's what the W stands for, the West Coast, baby. West Coast is in the house. Yeah, 100%. And W also stands for W, stream. From Mike. Fiercely saying, I'm in Ottawa as well. Raptors have supporters everywhere. I love it. All right, shout out where you're from so I know where you're at. So we got Isaac and Fiercely holding it down in the nation's capital. And we got Tom and Joseph Starks and Shane Waters out in BC land. And we got people in different spots, in different places. We got the 905 boys. Yeah, we got our spots with our different people. We had people in the beginning. We had this guy named Darren who was in the stream all the time. But at the very beginning, he was in Jakarta. And he was exactly 12 hours, the opposite our time. So he'd be watching me at 9:30 at night over there in Jakarta. And we miss you, Darren, from Jakarta. If you still watch us and you're just on off hours because you're 12 hours the other way, come give a shout out and say hey to us again, Darren. You were one of the very first people that got into my channel in the beginning. I miss you. Eric Jacob was in Zimbabwe. He was playing trivia on trivia days, and he'd be complaining. He's like, y'all have an advantage. I'm trying to answer all the way the fuck from Zimbabwe. And some of y'all are in Canada on the internets, and you're getting the answers in faster. And then, of course, Summer Lowe, she's in Hong Kong. So we are very much a global Raptor Freak nation. And more fans and more freaks come in here. I want to hear where y'all are at, and we can show even more how global we are. Yeah. Seymour saying, who's seen the Knicks win their challenge but was assessed a techno foul on further review? Hilarious. Challenges are fun. Seriously, it's like you want to poke the coach's challenge bear that is the referees. Oh, you are challenging us? You have the audacity to challenge us? Well, your challenge is successful. However, you get a technical foul because you were a jerk about how you called the challenge. It's like, really, you're going to challenge us? You're challenging the referees? Ooh, it does feel like that sometimes with that. And sometimes they're like humble and like, yeah, you're right. We're sorry. We called it wrong. You had to challenge us. And sometimes they're like, oh, the audacity. You have challenged us? Oh, we'll make you pay, Cleveland. Ed Malloy coming out there and saying, yeah, the challenge. Okay, yeah, you challenged us. Well, you know what? It's on you guys now. I love it. The challenges are fun. Honestly, I'm starting to really enjoy the challenge, like in the whole logic and thinking of it and when it's successful and what happens with it. Because it seems like now there's like new kind of outcomes to it, where it's like a detrimental outcome because you challenged, or like however outcome where they go however, so funny. Monique is saying, Lex, how do you want to see things on the road trip? How do I see things on the road trip? Listen, all right, let me go look at exactly how long this road trip is. And also, I want to look and see, I'll handicap it for how many games I think we'll win. I think that's what Monique wants to hear. So we're going to Washington for 2 games first, Thursday and Saturday. And then we're going to be in Denver on Monday. And then we got the Clippers next Wednesday, a week from today. And we got the Lakers on the Friday of next week. And then we're back. So it's a 5-game road trip. We've got 2 games against Washington and then 3 out west. All right. Always what I'll say is you want to win more than you lose. So we got to win 3 of these at least. Now, if we could win 4 out of 5, that'd be ideal. But I don't know if that may be likely. But if we do get 4 out of 5, that'd be fantastic. Definitely want to win at least one of the Washington games, if not both of them. If we can win both the Washington games, that'll really help, because then that'll mean if we only win 1 game out west, we'll have a winning road trip. So if we take care of business on the front end with Washington, these first 2 games, and then we only have to win 1 of the games against the LA teams in Denver, that would be good. Now, I want to be greedy. I want to get 4. So if we can beat Washington both games, and then like after we beat them, we'll go up west and I'll say, all right, we have 3 games. I'd like to win 2 out of 3. Then that would be even more awesome. We can, I think that the easiest games obviously are the Washington games. Then I'm not totally sure. Denver's the hardest game on this trip. That Denver is always hard because of the altitude. They have a home court advantage. Their home court record is really, really good. Having Will Barton will help. But the LA teams are actually both kind of struggling. Obviously, LeBron is out, so the Lakers may be an easier win. And then the Clippers, they're struggling really bad right now. It's really weird what's happening with them, even though they just got Russell Westbrook and reloaded with some talent. They have no chemistry. The Clippers are not gelling right, and they're not playing well together. And I'm kind of worried about them that like they're not going to be a power in the playoffs because they don't get it together on the same page. There's a lot of talk recently about Kawhi Leonard being an idiot, about him being an idiot for leaving us when he did, about him being an idiot for some of the personnel moves that he made, like trading SGA away to get Paul George. A lot of this stuff that he's wanted the Clippers to do has like kind of backfired and made him look stupid. Is very similar to LeBron running the Lakers a few years ago and him being directing what they should be doing with their roster. Well, the Clippers are feeling the same kind of thing from Kawhi having too much control. And I think that the byproduct is that they don't actually have a very good team because they don't have any chemistry. And that fucking Clippers, I'm disappointed because I want them to be a powerful team in the West, but I don't know if it's there. So when we come to see the Clippers next week, they may be easier than we think just because they're not playing well together. So that's how I look at that road trip. I definitely get 3 out of 5. If we can get 4 out of 5, fantastic. But take game by game. When the first one in Washington, okay. And then try and close it out in Washington again, okay. 3 out of 5, I'll be happy. But 4 out of 5, I'll be ecstatic. I'm pretty sure we'll lose at least one game on this trip. I'm pretty sure we will. Let's see. Cool Cat saying, did anyone notice that Poeltl's free throw shooting has improved? His form already changing, and how he holds the ball and release. At a minimum, he's one of our 2. Sometimes he got both free throws now. I think that it's this. Listen, if he's just shooting willy-nilly free throws that are random that come through the game, he'll miss them. He'll be 50%. But if it matters, if it's at the end of the game and it's like he knows these free throws are very important, he really concentrates and he makes those. It's kind of like he made 2 clutch free throws the other night near the end of the game of the Detroit game that were really crucial for us to win. Well, that I can depend on him maybe late in clutch situations, but he doesn't show the concentration to shoot free throws correctly, like just regularly. Like, in some ways, Pascal's the same way. You see Pascal miss free throws, and you can really tell it's just he's not concentrating. It's like, fucking get in your head and do it right. Well, it's a similar thing with Jakob. And he may look good at free throws sometimes, but it may be because it's late in the game and he knows the gravity of how important they are. So I don't know. You guys are seeing stuff like this, but like I said, once again, if he was going to get better at free throw shooting, he would have already. He just would have. It's just something, obviously, I can improve this part of my game. It'll increase my scoring. I'll help my team better. He would have worked on this already and seen improvement. That's why I don't hold my breath on this, guys. It's going to be a rate. It's going to be a ride with him at the free throw line every single time. Trust me. It's going to be a ride. You're going to be like, oh, and sometimes Nick Nurse is going to be looking down. He's not going to be wanting to look to see if he made it. All right, let's see. Jimmy's saying this team could have crumbled with all the noise. I think that they're in a prime position to jump in the standings. They just got to take advantage. Hope they lock in. Yes, they got to lock in tight, play really solid, play together, play off each other, play winning basketball, winning plays, play to play. Scottie, you do that next winning play, whatever it is. It's in your bag of tricks of versatility. You do the next winning play. It all adds up to winning. If you're doing winning plays that aren't necessarily with scoring, if Jakob's doing winning plays that are not necessarily with scoring, if Fred's doing winning plays that are not necessarily with scoring, and people are scoring, then it all adds up to winning. Because the winning plays, half of them or most of them don't even have to do with scoring. They have to do with the little gutsy, important things that you have to do to win games. Boxing out, getting rebounds, playing good defense, getting the block shot, making your free throws. All that kind of stuff is so important. So, yeah, I think that they're going to jump up. We're on our way. And you're right. We could have easily crumbled this season from all the adversity, all of the different powers that were pulling us apart, whether it's like the NBA media thinking we need to blow this up and sell our players on a fire sale at the trade deadline, or that we could have got mad at each other for losing and started pointing fingers at each other and not having good chemistry and like having problems between players on the team. None of that happened. So really, really good job sailing the ship through adversity in all kinds of different ways this season. Fiercely saying, I heard as of next year, if a challenge is successful, the coach may use another one. This would be good. Yeah, I think this is a good idea. At least maybe have one for each half. That would be smart because there may be a call early in the game that you want to challenge, but then you're screwed for the whole rest of the game. And it could be predicated on whether you're successful or not. If you get the first half challenge and you're unsuccessful, maybe you don't have a challenge for the rest of the game. But if you get that first challenge in and it's successful, maybe they need to give you a second one for the second half also. I agree with this. I agree with this. And they do need to tweak it. It's not exactly right, and they're working on it. I think it's a good concept, and I think that it is useful, and I don't think that it's bad for the game. I do think it's good. So the more they fix it and fine tune it, the better and better it's going to be. And I think that is actually a direction they'll go. Fiercely, what you're saying. Seymour saying, I'm getting mad when Gary shoots. They're calling offensive foul. How when he jumps back and goes straight up, players ain't giving him landing space, yet they call it on him. Shaking my head. You're talking about that one specific three that he shot and he fell backwards and like Levine was tangled up with him and they called a foul on him. That was the most asinine, stupid ass foul call. I agree that you're exactly right, Seymour. With he needs a landing space and a place to be. And even when they went and looked back at it, they still called it against him. I didn't agree with that. I mean, in some ways, he didn't see Levine behind him. He had his eyes looking away from him. And the way that he fell was kind of awkward too. It's almost like they fell into each other both on purpose. And it's not even that, not that it was on purpose, but it was kind of like they just kind of fell into each other by accident. I shouldn't have said on purpose. And that's what it was. And there wasn't really any reason to call a foul because everything, the contact happened after the shot. And it's not like, in some ways, it's like in ways Gary was kind of in more danger than Zach Levine at that moment because he was near his feet and he could have easily kicked him in the head or something. So, yeah, I didn't agree with that play at all, that exact play you're talking about. And it's true. They're really looking out for shooters to kick their feet out for offensive fouls. And Gary's natural shooting motion has a little bit of action with his feet like that anyway. So it's not like he's trying to do it on purpose. It may be that that's just part of how he gets his power for his shot is kicking his feet out a little bit to get that extra oomph into the shot. And I don't know. That's a gray area. And that was a fucked up call. You're exactly right, Seymour. It shouldn't have been a foul on Gary. Cool Cat saying, I just remember the missing of the bunnies could be a result of us no longer having our big man screening to make it easy at the time. The Bulls had their big man in the game. I started to have Utah PTSD. That Jakob wasn't in the game at that point late where Siakam was missing a lot of those really close shots near the basket in the fourth. It just looked bad. Like it was just kind of like, we need we need points. We need points. Okay, you just got so many chances and you didn't convert on any of them. Oh my gosh, it's a little bit of like hair pulling out in that moment for sure. Cool Cat. Yeah, and Jakob would clear things up. He's more like a big straw that stirs the drink as far as like making room for Siakam and easier for him to get the shot to go in for sure. So I'm with you on that. I agree with this, but that's the trade-off. That's part of the trade-off. It's like you want to have easier stuff from that way from Jakob, but also you got to worry about him in the free throws. That's the thing. Mike saying it's a form thing. Nick Nurse is a shot form doctor in a sense, tweaking the shooting forms. All the forwards who now shoot are from Nick's work on their shot over time. JB, Ibaka, Spicy, OG, Precious, Scottie. Well, this is the weird thing. I know he does this shot school stuff, and maybe he takes really unorthodox like shooting styles like Chris's and Fred's, and he says, "Yeah, you guys can continue to do this because you like to do this." And maybe he tweaks it just a little bit fundamentally to be a little bit better. But the way Chris shoots is not fundamentally right at all. It really isn't. And I guess that's why I don't really put credence into him like teaching people how to shoot correctly because he has a lot of fundamentally bad shooters on the team and he doesn't care. He's like, you do your style. You shoot it that way. So other coaches may actually try and force Chris to put a proper rotation on his ball. It's like this sideways spin that Chris does is horrible. It's horrible. It's so crazy that he makes the shots because it's fundamentally one of the worst shots I've ever seen in the history of the NBA. It really is. It's fundamentally horrible. Like he should not be spinning the ball horizontally where it's spinning like a globe. It's supposed to be going up over itself because that has a more inertia and more of a probability to go in. You spin it this way, it's going to rim out. It's going woo instead of going woo, woo, woo. And that's why I have a problem with Chris's shooting form, and I don't buy this Nick Nurse shooting guru shit. I really don't. He has shooting school at night. But in some ways, like, where are the results? Our team is a horrible shooting team. It's like, he's a great defensive coach. He's a great at this, but I don't buy this Nick Nurse shooting shit. I really don't. And I may be wrong. You guys may be right, but I don't see results. And I don't see fundamentally bad shooters on our team changing their shots. They're still shooting very badly, like as far as their fundamentals. Shane's here. Good to see Shane Waters. Challenges should be ran more like the NHL or MLB. Reviews are done by different refs or umps that are not on the floor. It takes away from the bias of the ref who made the call. Yeah, you got to be able to be admitting when you're wrong, referees. And some of them are good for this. Some of them are a little arrogant and they're like, how dare you challenge? I like what you're saying, Shane. And in some ways, maybe Secaucus does need to make all the decisions and just tell them over the microphone. They got those people sitting in the control center. They can go ahead and make the call there and tell the refs on site what it should be. In some ways, I like that idea a lot because of exactly what you're saying. Takes the bias away from the refs and their own head on the court. So yeah, I have no problem with what Shane's suggesting here at all. Let them do it in New Jersey with Kane Fitzgerald and the crew there. Seymour saying Lillard scoring 71 is not surprising. He is not a team player. He's about individual success. Lane Dame time. Wow. Seymour coming after Dame Lillard for no reason. But I mean, there is a lot of credence to what he's saying. That team is not won. I love his allegiance to the Trailblazers. And I love that he's going to be Trailblazer for his life. He doesn't want to leave. He's showing that allegiance. In some ways, I really respect him so much for being a Trailblazer his whole entire career so far. Hopefully they don't trade him or nothing happens weird. He should stay a Trailblazer his whole career, whether he wins or not. And then honestly, he doesn't care if he wins a championship in some ways. He has accolades and things that he's done in his career that is fine for him. And in some ways, he likes being this guy in this today's NBA that's stuck with one team and did this. It's old school. In some ways, it's very, very, very honorable and loyal and commendable in my book. So I have a lot of respect for him. Yeah, you can diss him for being selfish and getting 71, but it's a really amazing accolade and feat, honestly. Logical saying, not gonna lie, Lex, Boucher got better at free throws later in his career. He's night and day better. That's Nick over time. He tweaked the free throw stroke, and now it's more money than it was before. I would disagree there. Well, I'm going to say this. It may be partly what you're saying with his stroke and his mechanics, but it's also because Chris started taking basketball more seriously at a certain point. In some ways, he was just kind of going through the motions, didn't really care. He wanted to be like the next Kevin Durant, and he wasn't as focused as he is in the last 2 years. And I think that's part of it is like, focus and concentration is a big part of whether you're a good free throw shooter or not. I think Chris was more casual about playing basketball, and now he's more serious and he's more professional. And that is probably more of a reason why he's making his free throws better now than he did when he was younger. I mean, it could be technique and a little bit of fundamentals like that, but I think it's more that he grew up as a person and matured as a person in general, as an adult and as an NBA player. So that's what I would counter retort with that as far as things. Let's see. Cool Cat saying a lot of the young players in the NBA love Toronto. They talk about the city, the food, the arena, the fans. Such a nice slap in the face for the ESPN analysts who's talk smack about us. Yeah, it's funny. Maxey's, he goes even further. He says, I ordered some food when I was in Toronto and I use an alias. I don't let them know who I am, obviously. And he said that the food guy came and brought him the food. And when he saw it was Maxey, he said, oh, it's you. If I had known it was you, I wouldn't have brought you your food. And Maxey's like, he's just going to give me the food and stuff like that. That's hilarious to me. Of course, I can see that whole unfold with a good Raptors fan saying that to Maxey. It's hilarious. But it's never good to do any kind of food poisoning or any kind of weird shit to opposing teams. There's awful shit that happens like that around the NBA in different ways. We know the famous story about Michael Jordan in Utah and the Pizza Hut pizza. Yeah, that's really bad fan behavior. And in general, people that work in the food industry do not need to be doing fucked up things to people's food, even if they're mad at them, like spitting or doing other shit like that is really, really bad. Don't do that. And even if it's Joel Embiid's hamburger or anything like that. Yeah, don't do that. All right. Monique saying W stream, Lex, go Raptors. Let's keep climbing that ladder. That's right. Let's keep climbing those standings and keep showing them that we're a real contender now that we got Jakob Poeltl and Will Barton to solidify our ranks. Mike's saying teaching plus wingspan guys to shoot isn't easy. It's not normal based on the pure jump shot. It's about finding what the player is able to use consistently more than perfect shooting form over results. Results over. Okay, yeah, I mean, I get all that, and I get that philosophy. I don't know. I'll agree to disagree with you on this. I don't think that Nick Nurse is a good shooting coach. I'll give him a lot of credit in all kinds of other areas, but we got that fucking Noah system. We got him teaching shooting, and the results of our shooting this year is all absolutely dreadful. And last year we weren't a good shooting team either. So it's kind of like, yeah, Mike, but we're our team isn't a good shooting team. Is that just because of the players? And Nick Nurse is just such a great. I don't think he's a good shooting coach. I really don't. I mean, that's fine. We can disagree on this. I think Nick's so good at so many other things, and it's fine. All right, let's do a wrap up since I'm at the end of the comics. Great win by the Raptors last night over the Chicago Bulls. We have won the season series with them 2-1. We will not face them again for the rest of the season. Just some quick notes from Blake Murphy on his Twitter. Christian Coloco, Delano Banton, Joe Wieskamp, and Ron Harper Jr. have all been assigned to the Raptors 905. The Raptors 905 have home games on March the 2nd, 4th, 6th, 8th, and 9th, while the Raptors are on the road. So they really are going to be split away, and they are going to be away from each other. So Coloco is really going to get the time with 905 for sure, and not anything to do with them on this road trip. So we won't see Coloco against Porzingis after all. And I like the Wieskamp's down there with them also, because now we got Will Barton. In some ways, we need those guys to go down there, solidify the 905, get a lot of reps, and continue to develop on that level. So, yeah, it's interesting. The one name you don't hear on that list is Jeffrey Doughton Jr., so he will be traveling with the big squad on the West Coast trip. So that's pretty interesting. So that little bit of news and notes about who's coming where on which way. And the other thing that's interesting about this next week is all of these games are on the same day, the 905 and the main Raptors games. So we're gonna have double duty, like every other day, 8 games in a row almost. It's like they're both playing tomorrow, they're both playing on Saturday, they're both playing on Monday. You know, there's gonna be a lot of double duty, and the games will be on at the same time in some cases. So you're going to need double screens if you're going to want to watch the 905 and the Raptors games all together, because they're going to be happening at the same time. So be ready for that. As I said, tomorrow we'll have the preview for the first Washington game tomorrow afternoon. Just some general NBA news and notes. Vanessa Bryant has settled for $28.85 million from the sheriff's department that leaked the photos of Kobe and her daughter from the helicopter crash. That is a lot of money. And that should dissuade any kind of paramedics or cops or anybody from doing any fucked up shit like that ever again, because they had to pay out the ass for that. I will bet you money that Vanessa Bryant is probably sending a good chunk of that money to a charity. I'm going to tell you that right now. All right, guys, you know what? I'm going to do one more thing just for fun. I'm going to play a game of Poeltl. And you know the game Poeltl. It's on online. You can play it. All right, I'm guessing Jakob Poeltl. It's saying that the team is in the East, but it's not a center, and he's younger than 27. All right, let me see. So let's say it's going to be we'll pick Zach LaVine next instead. All right, see if it's Zach LaVine. No. All right, I guess I can't really play Poeltl on here very well. All right, anyway, guys, thanks for watching today. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends about it. If you have friends that are big Raptor fans and they enjoy good Raptors content, come find me. Yeah. Mike saying, I guess Lex ain't recommending his book on shooting is fine. I hope Nick can change your mind when these young guys continue to develop well on shooting. Well, it's just something I'm just not seeing the results. It's just something I don't associate with him. Maybe I should read his book on shooting. I don't know. Maybe he does see himself as some sort of shooting guru. I don't. I really don't. I would really like see better shooting from our guys in general. Anyway, guys, have a great day, and let's go Raptors. Just be glad we're collecting those W's, and have a great Wednesday, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Let's go.